It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowd. It's the size of the school. Their fancy uniforms. And remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the difference between winning and losing.
It's down to the wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, Long Island, New York, and around the country. This is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. You can call us. Yes, you could actually call the show. All you have to do is call the show at 631-965-4990. Make sure that you ask sports questions and not on-off idiotic questions if it has nothing to do with sports. And remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app, ladies and gentlemen. How do you do that? You go to Apple, iOS, and Android, and all you have to do in the search bar is go in and press WWSRN. Again, it's WWSRN. You can find our app, download it. You can read our stories. You can watch our shows live. You can listen to our show live. You can follow us at every single event that we're going to be posting up pictures and some of the interviews that we're going to have, all the different clips from each show. We have a great network of great shows throughout the week. Shout out to all the shows that put the time and effort into our network. Our network is growing, and we are one of the top digital profile networks in the country. Speedy Petey, what's going on, my friend?
My weekend was good.
I didn't ask you what your weekend was. I said, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I've had
But now that you want to tell us what your weekend was all about.
I don't.
So let's hear it.
No, I don't.
No, I think you did. I think you should.
I said it was good besides...
Good as in what?
Besides 10 seconds on Friday.
10 seconds on Friday about what?
Nah, that I'm not revealing.
What happened 10 seconds? Did you do something in the bedroom? Did you do something in the bathroom?
I did something in your kitchen that I don't want to talk about.
What are you doing in my kitchen?
I did something in your kitchen because of a game we played.
A game? Oh, that's right.
And I'm not revealing that.
Well, if you guys want to see the revealing thoughts to what Speedy did over the weekend, all you got to do is go to my Facebook, and I will post it all over Instagram and Twitter so everybody can see it. He did a lot of kissing. That's all I could say. Anyways, we don't have any guests today, which is very surprising. I want to give a shout out to Jillian, Ricky, and our great social media management team over there at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network for getting all the special guests. But today we are guest free, so we're going to get into everything that went on in week number 5. There was a lot of things that went on in week number 5 in the NFL. We're going to get into MLB, ALDS, and NLDS. We're going to talk about the new NBA champions, the LA Lakers. A lot of people are not giving LeBron any credit or any due for what he did yesterday. We will get into that a little bit later. There's a lot to talk about. And the New York Islanders made a trade today, which it doesn't really bode well for a lot of Islander fans. They're not very happy about it. They traded Devin Tames for 2021 and 2022 second-round draft pick, which I think they got a lot back for Devin Tames. But Devin Tames is I would say a second-line defensive pairing. He's a great defensive player, and he's young. He's 25 years old. So the Avalanche is getting a good player. They need defense. They add another young player to that young roster, and they're going to be very, very dangerous next year. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to get into the New York Jets. And the reason I want to get into the New York Jets because there are a few coaches that have been fired the last couple of weeks. O'Brien, now Quinn, and we're just going to keep adding to the list because it seems like before the season is over, quite a few coaches are going to be looking for new jobs. But for some reason, some long, ridiculous reason, Adam Gase still has a job. He gets knocked off by a Cardinal team. Let's be honest. Besides Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, and maybe Kenyon Drake. Who on this team really scares you? Larry Fitzgerald is an old man, okay? Hall of Famer, one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game. Nobody's going to take that away. He's an old man. He's like 38 years old, 39 years old.
He doesn't take all the snaps anymore.
Christian Kirk looks like he's a player, but against the Jets, he looks like a player. This is not a good team. This is not a good all-around team. They have some weapons. Defensively, they lost Chandler early in the game. Chandler Jones. Okay, so they didn't even have their top defensive player practically the whole game. So that's not an excuse. And this defense did not look good last week, the Cardinals' defense. So the fact that they look like superstar defensive players on the field against the New York Jets only tells you one thing about the talent on the field from the New York Jets. Everybody, I know a lot of people reached out to me on social media and they said that if Joe Flacco has one of those games where he's going to give you 350, 400 yards, Sam Darnold, people are going to really take shots at Sam Darnold, that he's no good, he's a waste of space, and he shouldn't be on the field.
Yeah, okay, Joe Flacco definitely proved that.
Joe Flacco was 18 for 33 for 195 yards, 1 touchdown.
2 words for that, game manager.
Joe Flacco is an old man. Okay, he's old. He's not the same Joe Flacco 5-6 years ago that won a Super Bowl and was the Super Bowl MVP. He's not that type of player anymore. And who would have thought that Joe Flacco and Le'Veon Bell would be starting on the New York Jets 5 years later? Nobody. But what you saw yesterday was, to me, another game of non-game planning, okay? I don't know what Adam Gase is doing on the field. I don't know if Adam Gase knows what he's doing anymore. I think Adam Gase is just out there because Joe Douglas wants him out there, because obviously they're trying to save his job.
For what reason? Who knows?
The problem is there's nobody that's going to save this man. This guy he's at the pet cemetery right now. Okay? They're burying him with the pets because nobody's going to remember Adam Gase after a 2-year stint here in New York.
Don't insult the pets like that.
Nobody's going to want to remember him because he's the worst head coach the New York Jets have ever had since Rich Kotite.
Wow. You're going back that far.
The game planning yesterday was horrendous. I don't want to hear, yes, the Jets have no players that can create separation. We all know that. We don't have to argue. We don't have to lie about anything. Jamison Crowder is the only decent player on the field that could create separation. Chris Herndon is terrible. He is horrendous. How many drops every single week do we have to see Chris Herndon drop before we realize this guy is a wasted draft pick? A guy that everybody thought, including yours truly, thought was going to be a top tight end in the league 2-3 years down the road. This guy has been a complete bust ever since he had that car accident for drinking and driving. That is the last time I remember Chris Herndon actually playing a game to remember.
And it was only a 2-3 game stretch he was good in, and that was it. He was suspended before that, and then he was hurt, and then obviously DUIs. Yeah, that'll get you.
This team is so boring to watch. I would rather take a crap, okay? I would rather take a crap and watch a replay of an old Jet game than watch this New York Jet team play live. This team is garbage. This is one of the worst Jet teams, one of the worst New York teams ever assembled in any professional sport. When you look at this roster, you have a bunch of old, washed-up players. Le'Veon Bell, washed up. Frank Gore, washed up. Joe Flacco, washed up. I'm just looking at names. Chris Hogan, washed up. More and more. Avery Williamson, washed up. Bradley McDougall, washed up. Brian Poole, washed up. There is not one veteran on this team that really stands out to me to be any decent than any player that we've seen on a backup squad on another team.
Now, you mentioned it might be one of the worst New York sports teams of all time. You do realize how many bad teams the Knicks have had, too. So
terrible.
This is worse?
This is terrible. This team is bad. This team is horrendous. There is no way in hell this team is winning a game this year. They're playing Miami next week. I will be very surprised that Miami doesn't wipe the floor with them and score 50 against this team. They scored 40-something points against against a 40-something points against a San Francisco 49er team. That is a better defensive team than the Jets.
Even injured.
This is a bad team. This is really bad. And this has a lot to do with coaching. Not all to do with coaching. This is not all Adam Gase's fault or Greg Williams' fault. This has a lot to do with talent and a talent pool that the Jets really put out there this year. Are you going to blame Joe Douglas a little bit on the talent pool? Yes. There was no wide receivers available for the Jets to bring in free agency. This offseason, he better be on the phone right at the end of the season and try to ply T.Y. Hilton or Allen Robinson away from some of the teams that we've seen him play in the last couple of years on.
Yeah, especially with the amount of success those two receivers have had in recent years with questionable quarterback play. After Andrew Luck retired for T.Y. Hilton, he had some injuries, but he still played well. And Allen Robinson has played with bad quarterback play pretty much his whole career.
Honestly,
whatever the Jets will have will be better than whatever they
honestly, and I'm going to cut in because you're making no apparent thought to what I'm trying to say here. The Jets right now, even in the offseason, they're going to have problems finding players that want to play here in New York. Not because Adam Gase will no longer be the head coach of the team. That's not why. It's because that this team is just a washed up organization. An organization that is trying to get themselves out of quicksand, and every single time you think they're going to find their way out of it, they find their way in it. It's been a problem for this organization for years. And I'm telling you, I'm a Jet fan. So I'm not taking shots at this organization, not knowing what I'm talking about. I have watched this team year in and year out, watch every single game, every single snap, every single play, and watched terrible football. Adam Gase is not a quarterback guru. Adam Gase is not an offensive guru. Adam Gase couldn't even coach a peewee football team. Okay? That's how bad Adam Gase is. He will never have a head coaching job in the NFL again. Just like Eric Mangini. He got his chance right after he left the New York Jets. He went to the Browns. And has he ever gotten another head coaching job? No, he hasn't. The same thing that happened to Rex Ryan. He went from one team to the other. He went to the Jets, to the Buffalo Bills, and now you'll probably never see Rex Ryan coach another game as a head coach in the NFL again as well.
Yeah, Mangini, though, got a pretty raw deal with a pretty bad Browns.
That has nothing to do with anything. Every single coach, every single decent coach that's ever touched this organization has gone to crap. Okay? And they're no longer coaches in the NFL. That's saying a lot about the way this organization chooses head coaches. They choose these head coaches that turn out to be garbage for the team or do okay for 2 or 3 years, like Todd Bowles, and then all of a sudden fall off. Todd Bowles is the only guy that got a defensive coordinator job right after the bat. But Todd Bowles was smart. He decided, you know what? I'm not taking another head coaching job because nobody's going to offer it to me. Right. I'm going to wait a couple of years, figure things out under Bruce Arians, get another coaching job, and do better as a head coach in the future. Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah, especially with all the offensive coaches that are being hired now. It's a lot harder for defensive coaches. They really have to prove themselves.
I just, watching this team just makes me want to throw up. That's what it made me do yesterday. I watched every single quarter to practically every single minute of this game. And what I've seen over and over again this year, Denzel Mims, we might as well not even see Denzel Mims step on the field. Because even if Denzel Mims is a game changer, why do we want to see him game change games that are going to mean absolutely nothing this year? Mean nothing. What is it going to give the Jets an opportunity to win where it could cost him a first-round draft pick or a number 1 pick? This is a problem with the New York Jets. This is an organization that needs to figure out what their identity is, because their identity is nothing. All right, we have a first caller of the day. Who are we speaking to?
Kevin from Chicago.
Kevin, what's going on, my friend?
Pretty good, man. Just got to talk about Patrick Mahomes. I called into another radio show, and I said Patrick Mahomes is overrated. And they said, overrated? What are you talking about? He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He could be the best talent we've ever seen. This and that. And then they're talking about People have been talking about, will the Chiefs go undefeated? Will the Chiefs go undefeated? They lose their next game to Derek Carr in the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is just overrated. He's got the second best coach in the game behind Bill Belichick, the best tight end in the game, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, just an absolute weapon, and I think this dude's like literally they put him up there as one of the best quarterbacks of all time. In his like second or third year, whatever it is. Absurd. The dude's overrated. He's a good quarterback, but the way they talk about him, oh my gosh, I can't believe he did that. He's like a human cheek to a bit. It's so annoying the way these people overreact. What do you guys think?
I don't think he's overrated, but I think they do blow him up to be God's gift to the world. This is a guy that's only been in the league for about 2.5 years. He needs to prove himself. I know he won an MVP. I know he won a Super Bowl, and not many quarterbacks have ever done that. Not many quarterbacks have ever gotten $500 million either. So he got a huge contract because of what he has done the last 2 seasons. I do feel that a lot of people blow him out of proportion. Is he better than Aaron Rodgers? I would say no, because Aaron Rodgers has been doing this consistently for over 10 seasons. So when you try to put him in the pool of a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, these guys have been doing it consistently for 10 years. This guy's only been in the league for 3 years. So you're absolutely right. A lot of people blow Patrick Mahomes and conclude that he is the greatest quarterback or one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's not even in the top 10. He hasn't even come close to that yet. There are so many other quarterbacks in the past. You have to pass the Tom Brady's, the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings, the Johnny Unitas's, the Bart Starr. There's so many good quarterbacks. To say that Patrick Mahomes in 3 years is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, it's outrageous. It's crazy. Do I think he's overrated? I don't think he's overrated. I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I just think they blow him out of proportion.
Yeah, and it's Kevin, it's another thing with the media, too, now, the way everyone wants to hype up young players, especially. They don't want the new, flashy players, especially for a team like the Chiefs, who have had quarterback issues for a while throughout their franchise. They want that new, flashy guy. That's why they're going to hype it up more. If Patrick Mahomes retires today, he's not a Hall of Famer because he only played 3 years. Something like that. Could he be? Yeah, absolutely. And I think talent-wise, he's the best one right now. But, again...
Talent-wise, he's the best one who? What, a quarterback in the league?
I think talent-wise, he is.
No,
right
he's
now.
not.
Okay, but
not even close.
Even if you want to nitpick on who it is, it's fine. I'll give you Wilson. I'll give you Rodgers, whatever. And I think peak Aaron Rodgers definitely was better than him too. But regardless, you're right.
Aaron Rodgers right now is better than him.
Okay, but still, the point is, Kevin, I think it's more of people blowing them up because of the wanting to blow up a young player more than anything else. He still is very talented, and he was not the reason the Chiefs lost yesterday. The Chiefs lost 40-32.
Well, also, Kevin, they also want to say they want to find the next face for the NFL, and they think Patrick Mahomes, the Kermit lookalike voice, and who he is personality-wise, and the way everywhere he goes, everywhere he shows up, everybody loves the kid. So of course they're going to blow him out of proportion. Do I think you could put him in the same boat as guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, or Drew Brees? No, I don't think he's anywhere close to them yet. Maybe 10 years down the road, we can talk about Patrick Mahomes. We could also see Patrick Mahomes like Alex Smith or even Dak Prescott yesterday, break an ankle and never the same quarterback to step on the field. So I do believe that you're right. I think people are blowing him out of proportion. But to say that he's overrated and he's not a top quarterback, and I think that's being a little foolish, just a little bit.
Yeah, when I say overrated, I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback. He could be even the best in the league, but the way people talk about him, that's what I mean is the overrated part. But I agree. I think he's one of the best in the league, but he also has a lot of talents around him. I think he's got one of the best head coaches, Andy Reid, a lot of weapons around him on offense, so that's what you got to take into consideration.
Kevin, let me ask you a question. I love Andy Reid. I think he's a great coach. How many championships before last year did he win?
None.
He won none. So as good as Andy Reid has been over the years and how many good quarterbacks he's had, and I rooted for Andy Reid with the Eagles. I'm a Jet fan, but my second favorite team over the years was the Eagles. And the reason why is I was a Donovan McNabb fan. Look how good Donovan McNabb is. He's a Hall of Famer. He will be a Hall of Famer. And look at the quarterbacks that he's coached. He never won a Super Bowl until he had Patrick Mahomes. So again, Andy Reid's a great coach, one of the great offensive minds we've ever seen. But To say that the great Andy Reid, as great as he is, he's only won one Super Bowl. I mean, Bill Belichick's won 6. I mean, Chuck Noll won 4, I think. I mean, there's so many people. Walsh won 4. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many great coaches that won so many Super Bowls. Andy Reid's only won 1. So there are quite a few coaches right now in the NFL. Mike McCarthy, who's won 1 Super Bowl, and he's now coaching another team like the Cowboys. So as great as we could say Andy Reid is, he's only won 1 Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has won 1 in 2 years. So, I mean, when you're talking about greatness on who's better and who's greater at their position, I would say Patrick Mahomes right now is greater at his position because he's won a Super Bowl already. Yes, with Andy Reid, but that offense.
One more point.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
One more point before I head out.
Go ahead.
Seattle versus Minnesota. People are giving them a hard time for going for on 4th and inches. That's not the play that I'm upset about. I don't have a problem with him going forward and trying to close out the game because if he doesn't, they're coming back and scoring either way. They're going to tie that game up. Russell Wilson's going to tie that game up. The problem I have is the all-out blitz on 4th and 10. And when all you have to do, all-out blitz, and they got like 35 yards, that was a game changer. You blitzed them, took advantage, and you gave up like 35, 40 yards. What's your thoughts on that play? Because people have given him a hard time for going for instead of kicking a field goal. That's not what I was upset about. What I was upset about was the blitz on 4th and 10 and allowing them to convert, pretty much secure the game with that big play. What do you think, guys? Take it easy.
Well, here's a good answer to this. Zimmer is known to do that. He's always known to blitz and go after the quarterback, especially if it's 4th and 10 and he's trying to keep his team in. His strength is his defense. Zimmer knows that. His strength, he's a defensive coordinator. He likes to go after the quarterback. He likes to, go all out blitz. Was he wrong going all out blitz at the time that he did? Absolutely. That's not why they lost the game. The reason why they lost the game is because they gave Russell Wilson a little bit too much time on the field. If you know Russell Wilson, you have the ball, you're in the lead, you're leading the game for the last 5 minutes of the game, all the way down to the 2-minute mark, and you have the chance to run the ball, run the clock, make them use their timeouts. Why didn't you do it efficiently, with the 5-minute mark? They were. The problem with the Minnesota, and I picked the Vikings to win that game. I did. I thought the Vikings, it was going to be a close game, and I know the Vikings needed that game to win. And Kirk Cousins, at some points of the game, outplayed Russell Wilson. Okay? He outplayed him. But the problem was, it's coaching. It is coaching. It was Zimmer versus Pete Carroll, the oldest coach in the NFL in Pete Carroll, against one of the most devastating blitz packaging defensive minds in football. And knowing that Pete Carroll is a defensive minded coach, he outsmarted the trigger happy blitz package Zimmer. And that's what really happened. I just think that at 5 minutes left of the game, they should have ran the ball more. They didn't run the ball more. They should have kept the ball out of Russell Wilson's hands. And to me, that's what cost them the game.
Yeah, I agree. I think going for it on 4th down, being that the run game was actually effective for most of the game, even when Dalvin Cook got hurt, their backups were playing well too. I didn't mind them going for it either. It's always a tough decision. You want to go up 8, kick the field goal, make sure they can only tie it. It's a tough choice. But the way that running game was, if it was struggling, I would understand where you're coming from, where you kick the field goal. But I have no problem with them going forward the way the running game was going. And I completely agree with you on the blitz. Why are you blitzing so much on 4th and 10, especially when your corners are young and inexperienced? You want to have other linebackers and safeties that could help them rather than going in an all-out blitz. The other thing I blame too, Kevin, for that is the play call on the 2-point conversion. Why are they doing a quarterback draw with Kirk Cousins? That made no sense either. I would have done something a little differently against a goal line defense like that, running with, not that Cousins is super slow, but
they're going to be looking for a new coach too. Zimmer is going to be gone too at the end of the season. This team was supposed to be a Super Bowl contending team. They gave Kirk Cousins an extension a year ago, a 2-year extension. They expect Kirk Cousins to go out there and win a Super Bowl. And you can't blame Kirk Cousins for this because he's had good seasons over there in Minnesota. It's just he didn't have a good relationship with Stephon Diggs. He goes over to Buffalo. He becomes a superstar wide receiver. Thielen's over there. He wants to be the number one guy. He's having problems on and off the field with Kirk Cousins. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe they need the right guy in there to calm down Kirk Cousins. Maybe Kirk Cousins doesn't get along with players. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in that locker room. But obviously something is not working because that team is too talented to be 1-4.
Right.
Okay?
And especially with what they have in the front seven, too. Their secondary's weak. We knew that coming into the year. Outside of Harrison Smith, they really don't have much. They have a bunch of rookie corners. They have Yannick Ngakoue. They have Daniil Hunter, who are two talented young pass rushers. They shouldn't have to blitz as much as they do, Kevin, and I think that's what you were getting at. Why trust your raw pass rush, your 4-man rush? Maybe you could bring another linebacker, somebody like an Eric Wilson, who's a good pass rushing linebacker, but you're right. You shouldn't have to blitz all out and trust your guys in man coverage, especially with the talent of the Seahawks receivers, too. Lockett was shut down for the most part, but he's still a good receiver, and Metcalf had himself a game.
Oh, Metcalf is fantastic, and I think Russell Wilson's blowing him out of proportion, trying to compare his skills to Jerry Rice, which is ridiculous. I mean, Jerry Rice is the greatest football player to ever step on the field. To try to compare him, let's see Metcalf stay healthy and play consistently 10 years and do what Jerry Rice did, and then we can talk about comparing and contrasting the great to the great Jerry Rice. Kevin, definitely download our app. If you don't have our app, go to iOS, go to Android. WWSRN. You'll love our shows. We have great shows throughout the week, live shows. You can call all the shows and interact with all the different talented people that we have on our network.
You got it, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely. Kevin, new caller, nice kid.
Not a new caller, first time in a while caller.
From Chicago.
Yeah, we've had him.
I don't remember having Kevin.
It was like 6 months ago was the last time.
All right. Well, Kevin, he's listening. That's a good thing. And he very, very good questions. Very good questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to the Jets. And I did go off topic over here because Kevin wanted to know our opinion about Patrick Mahomes and the Minnesota Vikings. The New York Jets are the worst team in the NFL. It's not even close. The Giants are not even, I think Atlanta, it goes Jets, Atlanta, Giants. I think the Giants are better than the Atlanta Falcons and the Jets. I don't like the Giants coaching staff. I don't. I'm not a big fan of Joe Judge. I don't know who he is, but I'm not a big fan of his.
You love Jason Garrett.
I do. I do like Jason Garrett, and their offense has played better every single week. How could you say that it hasn't? Look at the weapons that they have. Look at what they have on the field. Golden Tate, the man's old enough to be my grandfather. Okay, all right. Golden Tate. They have a guy that they drafted in the 4th or 5th round that Giant fans were trying to compare to Odell Beckham. Okay. They have Shepard, who they overpaid 2 years ago, who is now getting more than what he's worth. They have Ingram, who played well yesterday, but since he's been drafted, he's been a highly over-touted tight end in the league, where everybody was trying to say that he was the next big superstar, like the Jets and Chris Herndon.
He was over-touted as a prospect as it was. I don't think he was even having a second-round grade from a lot of
They're better than the Jets. They are better than the Jets. And that's crazy to say, because I think the Jets have more talent than the Giants do, but they're better coached. How crazy does it sound? A guy that's never coached in his career as a head coach. He was a wide receiving coach under Bill Belichick for 9 seasons. 9. Never coached a team in his life, is a better all-around coach than Greg Williams and Adam Gase. 2 guys that have been head coaches in the league, not once, not twice, but 3 times. It's ridiculous. Your best wide receiver, like I've been saying, yesterday he didn't even touch the ball, is Braxton Berrios, who touched the ball not once. Not once yesterday. Yeah. Jamison Crowder had a great game, 8 receptions, 116 yards. Jamison Crowder's the only good weapon they have. Le'Veon Bell is washed up. And I'll tell you this right now, Le'Veon Bell will be traded at the trade deadline or let go because of salary. and he will go somewhere else and be a big part of that team going all the way to the Super Bowl.
I could see
you
that.
watch.
I could see that.
You
too,
watch. It's going to happen.
Because also look at all the running back injuries too we've seen in the league so far. So I could definitely see that kind of thing happening. What they get back is still another question.
This team is terrible. I am so disgusted. Sometimes I would like to stand on a chair and hang myself. Okay? As crazy as it sounds on national radio, that's what I feel like. When I watch the Jets, I just want to hang myself. I don't even want to watch it. It's despicable. And then I get phone calls from Jet fans, friends of mine that are huge Jet fans, telling me, stop sticking up for Sam. Stop sticking up for Sam. Are we watching the same game? This isn't Sam's fault. Sam's going to go somewhere else and become a superstar. With the Jets or without the Jets, he's going to be a superstar somewhere. And yes, the Jets could get the number 1 pick this year. It could be Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence could be the guy that they've been looking for forever, for the last 50 years. Sam Darnold will go somewhere else and become successful because he's not coached right. He's not coached. Adam Gase is not the quarterback whisperer. Adam Gase was a hex. He was the devil. He was the demon himself that came to the New York Jets and ruined this franchise even worse than where we saw them when he came here.
That's hard to do, and he did it.
I mean, they're not a clown. They're not a circus. They're not any of that. They're worse. They're nothing. This is coming from a Jet fan. This organization is a joke. And everybody wants to blame the owners. Oh, it's the owners' fault. It's Chris and Woody. Oh, blah, 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 blah. It's not the owners. That's what the owners open they open up their checkbooks. Right. They open up their checkbooks. Now, do they make some of the decisions? They love Adam Gase. They're only telling everybody they love Adam Gase because they're not going to go out to the public eye and throw their coach under the rug. They're not going to do that because then they're going to look even worse as an organization and as an owners group. They're not going to throw the coach under the bus. They're just not.
Yeah, and also, too, when you judge the ownership, you want to look at the trends of certain teams. Now, obviously, the Jets haven't been a good trend, but when you look at bad ownership, you look at a team like Washington with Dan Snyder. You look at Miami with all the players they overpaid, and then they just kept losing a lot of their other guys. The Jets seem to bring in reasonable free agents for the most part. I don't think they overpay that much as they should, or as they would. Yeah,
I do believe in. And by the way, CJ Desimone, great show. Weapons Hot yesterday. Checked out the show. Great show on our network on Sundays. Le'Veon Bell was misused. He's not washed up. When I say washed up, he's washed up as a New York Jet. Okay? I think he'll go to another. Did I not say that? I think he'll go to another organization if the Jets release him at the trade deadline, trying to shed some kind of contract or whatever they're going to try to shed in the offseason. And I'm telling you right now, he'll go somewhere else and achieve everything he wants to do, and that's try to win a Super Bowl. Who do we have on? Who's our second caller? CJ, what's going on, my friend?
What's going on, Al?
Obviously nothing. Obviously, I'm talking about the Jets. Le'Veon Bell. Now, I didn't say that Le'Veon Bell's washed up. I'm washed up for the Jets.
Le'Veon Bell's
washed up for the Jets. Washed up for the Jets. He's not going to do anything for the Jets. It's over.
Yeah,
it's over.
He's not going to do anything for the Jets because we have a head coach that doesn't know how to use them.
And he'll go somewhere else. And if you listen to the segment, I did say he'll get let go either at the trade deadline or get traded by the Jets at the trade deadline. He'll go somewhere else and help a team go all the way to the Super Bowl. I did say that.
Yeah, I believe that. And I also agree with your last statement that if the Jets decide to move on from Sam Darnold, he'll end up going someplace else, and he'll end up being successful someplace else.
I think he is.
Fans are just going to go. We're just going to get the next quarterback in here, whether it's Trevor Lawrence or whether it's somebody else. And because we're not going to have a good enough quarterbacks coach or an actual quarterbacks coach to develop this kid, or if the plan is to keep Adam Gase for year number 3, which I think is completely preposterous, okay, then yeah, we're just going to end up ruining another young quarterback. This franchise is a blazing dumpster fire.
By the way,
you know how big of a Jets fan I am.
Yes. By the way, I will attack. I did want you to call because I'm happy that you called because I want to attack something that Kevin and you said yesterday. And Kevin said something.
Bring it on.
Kevin said something. I think 40 minutes into the show, he said Jamal Adams wanted out of here, and thank God he wanted out of here because this organization's dumpster fire. Jamal Adams wanted out of here before he even came to the organization. He never wanted to be a New York Jet. Never did. His first year, at the end of the season, he was complaining that he wasn't put on the Pro Bowl team. And then he said that his goal and his dreams and his admirations was to go and play in Dallas because he grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan. How many times did we hear that year in and year out from this guy? The guy was not, he didn't want to play for the Jets, not because the Jets were bad. He just didn't want to be in New York. He didn't want to be a part of this organization. His father was drafted by the New York Giants, was there for 2 years, and then he was thrown away. He was a washed up player. Okay. He never wanted to be here in New York. And that's why he pushed himself out of here. And for any Jet fan to sit here, and I'm not taking a shot at Kevin, but it bothers me when he sits here. He benefited leaving here to the Jets. He went to a great team that has the worst secondary in the NFL. Do you want to go and look at where Seattle's ranked defensively? Even with Jamal Adams, he's only missed 2 games. He played the first 2 games of the season. This is the worst secondary in football. So to say that Jamal Adams is a better defensive player than any of the Jets?
What's Seattle's record?
It's because of Russell Wilson.
Because of their offense.
The Jets are 0-5. He went to a winner. He doesn't give a damn what the hell he needed to do. He wanted to get himself out of the Jets organization because he doesn't like Adam Gase. He didn't like the way that his contract situation was being handled, which, sorry to say, I do put it to feed to Joe Douglas. But, look, he got dealt. He got dealt. The Jets got a king's ransom. It was a win-win all around.
He got dealt because all he did was take a shot at the ownership.
They took a step back. Of course they took a step back. They took a step back without Jamal Adams. They took a step back without Mosley. This offense is a shell of itself. A shell.
I'm not even talking about the offense. I'm talking about what you guys said about Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is a better defensive player than anybody on this team. I beg to differ, because what has Jamal Adams done so far this year on Seattle besides go on one of the worst secondary teams in football? So as great as Jamal Adams is and what the Jets got back for him, and everybody keeps saying, well, he went to a great team and he'll take less money playing for that team. Oh, so what? Sayonara, because he's never going to win over there either, because that team is never going to win with that defense. You're not going to win championships as good as Russell Wilson is, and he's fantastic. He is unbelievable. You're not going to win championships with a defensive team that bad. So I understand what you guys are saying. I understand the whole argument here that Jamal Adams wanted out and he wanted to go to a good team, but he ran himself out of here not because the Jets were bad. He ran himself out of here because he was one of the guys that wanted Adam Gase to come here. He was excited when Adam Gase was signed over here. And then all of a sudden, a year later, he wants out because you know what? He needs to make up his decision on what he wants. He doesn't know what he wants. And now he's saying, I tell you, he'll run himself out of Seattle too.
That's what falls on his people, though. You also have to take into consideration, you're talking about a kid here who's a multi-million-dollar superstar.
Yep.
And he's got a ton of people talking in his ear, including his father, who's probably sitting there putting ideas in his head. They're going to throw you away the same way they did to me. They're going to do the same thing to you like they did to me. They're going to use you, and then they're going to cast you aside.
That's the business.
Where the Jets had no plans of that. Joe Douglas inherited a mess. We could all agree with that. Mike McCagnon was an absolute doofus. Okay, he was fired 3 years too late, in my opinion. So was Todd Bowles. Okay, so Jamal Adams came to the right franchise at the wrong time. Plain and simple.
I think this franchise is just right now hexed. I just think this franchise it's hexed. I don't know if they're ever going to find their way out of the hole. Maybe it.
Yes, they will. You know when they'll find a way out of the hole? When Christopher Johnson and Woody Johnson shut their mouths and stay out of football operations. Stay out of day-to-day football operations. Go work with your baby oil. Go work with your tampons. Go work with your baby powder. Go work with the other stuff that make Johnson & Johnson what it is. Okay?
People are saying
they are not football people.
We never said
give the keys to the car to football people and let them run.
We never, John, by the way, John Farris is saying Seattle doesn't need Bell. We're not saying that Bell is going to Seattle.
No, Seattle needs pass rush and corners.
We never said that Seattle was going to bring in Bell. I'm saying that Bell will go somewhere else at the trade deadline, or the Jets will release him because of a contract, because at a certain time this year...
No, he'll go someplace else.
He is going to go somewhere else. He is going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. They'll get like a fourth round pick for him. So they'll give him away for a song, and then Le'Veon Bell will be playing in the postseason, and the Jets will be playing golf.
Well, we know that's what's going to happen. We knew that before the season even started, CJ. I don't know why any Jet fan thought any differently, that this team wasn't going to be good. Adam Gase doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Greg Williams obviously has lost his mind because I think he forgot how to coach defense. And Quentin Williams, I will say this. Quentin Williams has a ton of talent. You watch him. And yes, he gets double and triple team more than any player in the NFL. Stop making excuses for him. He needs to make plays. You want to be a top
he does.
You want to be a top defensive player. You want to be compared to Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack as one of the top defensive players. Make plays. Stop making excuses that we have no edge rushers. So what? You become the edge rusher. You become the dominant force in the middle. That's where you show what your worth is. You're not good. Look at Leonard Williams. He goes to the Giants. He's having a better career right now with the Giants than in the 4 years he was with the Jets. And that's because of coaching. That's because of Todd Bowles not consistently pushing this kid to the limit. You're hearing that these guys aren't practicing right. You're hearing that these guys aren't pushing themselves. That has to do with coaching. That has nothing to do with ownership. That has nothing to do with ownership. And I'm so sick and tired.
It does have something to do with ownership.
Why?
You know why? Because
the owners aren't telling you to sit on your ass.
I said this on last night. Okay. And Petey could even quote me on this. Okay. The man who's got the gun, the man who's got the silver bullet that could end the nightmare for Jets fans today, refuses to pull the trigger. You know why? Because he's content to go down with the ship. Because it's more intent. It's easier for him to win the back pages of the New York Post and the New York Daily News and whatever other New York media there is out there.
CJ.
To have the New York Jets constantly being
CJ, who are they going to put in position if they fire Adam Gase right now? They're better off.
You put Jim Bob Cooter.
Who?
Jim Bob Cooter is a former offensive coordinator.
Who?
You need to tell me.
I know who he is. I know who he is,
You can't promote him. You can't promote Brant Boyer.
Oh, my God. It doesn't matter.
This team is not the point.
So you want them? So what you're pretty much? So what
I'm
you're
not saying it would have been better, but I think Sam Darnold would actually benefit from having a different voice in his ear.
So you're probably
willing to work with him instead of Adam Gase trying to jam.
So you'll be happy. So you'll be happy. So you'll be happy if the Jets fire Adam Gase and bring Jim Bob Cooter in, and they win games and cost them a chance to get a top 3 pick. So you're going to do that when you could keep Adam Gase because you're not going anywhere this year. You're not winning anything 0-5. You might as well lose as many games as you can with Adam Gase, fire him at the end of the season, and bring in the right guy to coach this team. And if Sam Darnold isn't the guy, you move on from him, you bring in Trevor Lawrence, and there she blows.
How are you going to know what Sam Darnold is if the guy that you have on the staff is incapable of developing him? Mm-hmm. The guy that we have on staff right now, Adam Gase, Darryl Rodgers, they are incapable of developing Sam Darnold.
Okay.
What good is it going to do?
It's not going to do any good. But here's the thing. Sam Darnold in the offseason worked with Julio Jones, worked with DeAndre Hopkins. You heard he was in California.
Right,
all these players.
We can go and we can make an evaluation for Sam Darnold just so that way we can kick him to the curb and drive.
I'm not saying I'm not saying kicking him to the curb. But guess what, dude? If we decide to keep him in the offseason, and Sam Darnold becomes a bust, you bring in a good offensive mind like an Eric Bieniemy or whoever, Jim Harbaugh. I don't know. Whoever they decide to bring in, a great offensive. I'm just giving names.
That Eric or Jim Harbaugh is going to come.
Whoever.
Come anywhere near this franchise.
Caldwell.
Greg Roman in the door.
Caldwell.
I don't mention him. Didn't you want him initially?
Yes,
yeah.
Caldwell. I don't care who it is. An offensive mind, a reliable offensive mind comes here to the New York Jets. You're going to trust in 2 years, knowing that this guy is going to want $40 million. And you saw what he did his rookie season when he was drafted. He was not going to play until he got that extra $3 or $4 million on his rookie contract. He was not going to play. You're going to sit here and tell me that you're going to live and die with paying Sam Darnold $40-something million after 2 years of watching him? My answer is
I would.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yes, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
You and I will agree to disagree on that point, because as I told you in the past, when you've come on my show,
yes,
I am not ready to close the book on Sam Darnold yet.
I'm not
because
either.
The Jets have failed him since he's been drafted here. The Jets have failed him. And you know who that falls at? That falls at the feet of the general manager, that falls at the feet of the head coach, it also falls at the feet of the owner. Because it's your responsibility to put people.
Who are they going to find? CJ, there was nobody available in free agency for wide receivers. What were they going to do?
Full of garbage.
Who?
Garbage.
Who were they going to bring? Who are they bringing in? Who? AJ Green? They were actually looking at AJ Green. AJ Green, as soon as their Burrows was brought to the team, he wanted to play with AJ Green.
Who? You made a trade with somebody. You could have made a trade with the Buccaneers. You could have traded a third-round pick to go get Mike Evans.
Really?
He was not going to be available.
For a third-round draft pick? Mike Evans? What are you, nuts?
Buccaneers are not going to shop their receivers.
They're not going to trade Mike Evans for a third-round draft pick. They're going to want a first. They're going to want two firsts.
That team up as an example, but you know what?
Who?
There are plenty of teams that if you dangled the right amount of compensation in front of them,
first-round draft picks.
You can pluck a star receiver.
First-round draft picks. They drafted Denzel Mims. He just hasn't been healthy this year. That's not the Jets' fault. That's not ownership's fault. That's not Joe Douglas's fault. It's Denzel Mims. His hamstrings aren't healthy. The same thing that happened to Odell Beckham his first year with the New York Giants. He didn't play the first 5 games of the season, and Giant fans thought he was a bust. Then he made that unbelievable grab 2-3 games after that, and he was a superstar. So we don't know what Denzel Mims is. He could step on the field and become a superstar. So I understand what you guys are saying. I understand why Jet fans are upset. You can't blame Joe Douglas for this. There was nobody. T.Y. Hilton's going to be available this offseason. Allen Robinson is going to be. There's a couple other wide receivers we can look up when we come for break.
As well.
Juju is going to be a free agent. There are players that are going to be available this offseason. The Jets have a ton of money that they could pay a wide receiver to come in and be their number one guy.
End up having to pay the jet tax in order to bring people here.
Yeah,
and then you have to hope and pray that Adam Gase hasn't completely destroyed this team, that nobody will even want to touch this franchise with a 10-foot pole.
Juju will come here. Juju will come here if he becomes a free agent before the Pittsburgh Steelers somehow give him a franchise. I don't know if they will, because a lot of people don't think Juju is a number one wide receiver. Some people think he's a number 2, the top number 2 receiver in the league. Maybe the Jets look at him as a higher prospect, a higher type of player that could play with Sam Darnold and become that number 1 guy with Sam. I don't know. They played very well at USC. I don't know what the Jets are thinking. Only Joe Douglas knows what he's thinking. Joe Douglas is doing the right thing with Adam Gase. Because the truth is, having him there.
No, he's not.
Having him there. First of all, Sam Darnold's not coming back. He's not going to be back next week either. He has a dislocated shoulder. His throwing arm is dislocated. You're not going to see him for at least 3 or 4 weeks. So what is the point of bringing in bringing in Jim Bob Cooter, whatever his name is, or somebody else, because they're not so, you don't want them to win. Why do you want to see them win games? So it cost them a top draft pick? Right now, this is what we see as Jet fans.
You want to see this team become competitive because you want to see what the future of this franchise looks like. That's what you want to do. Wins and losses are irrelevant at this point.
Really?
At this point, it's getting the offense to actually click and put points on the board.
So you're telling me,
averaging 13 points.
So CJ, you're going to sit here and tell me right now, when you're talking about arguably one of the best prospects to come out of a draft in almost 15 years, you're willing to win games and cost yourselves an opportunity maybe to drafting this kid who can change your franchise for the better. That's what you're doing? That's what you're going to say? You know what? We're going to just try to find a way to win one game. We win one game. We're not looked like the Atlanta Falcons or the New York Giants, and we're not the laughingstock of the league. But here's what it hurts you. It hurts you the opportunity to possibly get a game changer, a guy that can change your franchise for the good. So, and he could change your franchise maybe better without the top wide receivers. He might be that good. We've seen quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers has done it. Russell Wilson has done it. We've seen these quarterbacks do it. Sam Darnold hasn't done it yet. As far as I'm concerned, I love Sam. I love him. Everybody that knows me knows that I love Sam Darnold. But here's the problem. We have seen Sam Darnold play with not great wide receivers, but decent wide receivers, and they have not become stars around him. They haven't become guys to look at. Chris Herndon, everybody thought was going to have a great season. Chris Herndon couldn't catch a ball out of a friggin' boat, okay? This guy is terrible, okay? And I'm not blaming Sam Darnold for it. I'm just seeing what I'm seeing. Talent is
No, I blame that on coaching.
Coaching too, but again, in my eyes, you do not try to win games right now when you're talking about a revolutionary guy that's coming out of the draft that can change your franchise forever. Forever.
I've never seen a quarterback hyped up more in my life than I've seen with Trevor Lawrence.
That's how good he is. They say he has no weaknesses. None. He can throw on the run as good as anybody. He can throw with force down the field 60, 70 yards. The guy is fast inside and out of pocket, can run a 4.4, 4.5 as a quarterback. He's 6'6".
Didn't they say the same thing about Brandon Whedon?
Oh, no, dude. Brandon Whedon was 30 years old.
Did they say the same thing about Ryan Leaf?
Ryan Leaf.
Didn't they say the same thing about Mark Sanchez?
I did not say the same thing about Mark Sanchez.
Hold on. Let me go into all the guys that you said. You said Mark Sanchez. Pete Carroll came out and said that he came in a year or 2 years early before he even started his NFL career. He said it was a bad move by him and his agent coming out of the draft as quick as he did. That was one. Then you said Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf, everybody knew was a head case. Everybody knew. That's why everybody knew he was a head case coming out from Washington State. I think he played for Washington State. Everybody said he was a nutcase. He came out and he was a nutcase. Okay? Who was the other guy he said?
Brandon Whedon.
Brandon Whedon was 30 years old playing for Ohio State.
Oklahoma State.
I'm sorry, Oklahoma State.
Against Big 12 defenses that are terrible, by the way.
He was 30 years old, Brandon Whedon. He wasn't 20 years old. 6'6", has big hands he could throw in the cold, he could throw in the heat, he could do everything. He's got the speed, he's got the agility, he's got everything that you're looking for a quarterback. I'm sorry. And I'm just being honest right now. You do, if anything, as a Jet fan, you want Adam Gase to coach the team for the rest of the season because it gives them the best chance to lose. That's the truth.
Well,
as much as you don't want to hear it.
If Adam Gase is going to coach the rest of the year, then you know what? You better deactivate Sam Darnold. You better trade Le'Veon Bell. You better run Frank Gore into the ground. And then you got to rotate in and out that offensive line because I'm going to tell you something right now. The next coach that picks up the pieces from this team, I can guarantee you, if you let Adam Gase coach this team and this team goes 0-16 with the current
they're going 0-16
that's on there right now, I can guarantee you will set this franchise behind not 2 years, not 3 years, 4 years.
They're going 0-16. There's no way they're winning a game this year.
Right.
There's no way.
I would much rather, as a fan, go 0-16, knowing that my team is competitive week in and week out, than have to watch the garbage that I just watched against them.
I'm telling you right now, there is no way in hell the Jets are winning a game. Miami's going to kill them next week. They're going to kill them. Then the Chiefs are going to murder them. And then they're going to play Buffalo, and Buffalo's going to rub their faces in the turf. Okay? They're done. The Jets are done. The season is over for the New York Jets. And Adam Gase should be the only guy Jet fans should be excited to see every single week because he gives you the best chance to get Trevor Lawrence. And that's the truth. Say whatever you want. The Jets could change their franchise in 1 year. We've seen football teams do it. They could change it in 1 year. You bring in Trevor Lawrence, you still have a number one. You still have a number one draft pick. You trade Sam Darnold in the offseason. You probably can get a first-round draft pick from Pittsburgh or Chicago. They'll give you a first round. Now you have 3 number one draft picks. You move up and get the wide receiver you want, the kid from Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm. You get Jamar Chase. You move up. You give up 2 first-round draft picks to move all the way up to 3 or 4 to get Jamar Chase and Trevor Lawrence. Now you solidify with your quarterback and your wide receiver. You bring in a free agent wide receiver like Allen Robinson, and then you have Denzel Mims. Now you have your offensive firepower right there. You still have the idiot Chris Herndon. We'll see what he could do. I mean, seriously, the offensive line is reconstructed. Now all you got to do is build the secondary. Bring in some more. You draft a corner in the second round. You have 2 second-round draft picks.
Or a pass rusher.
Or you have 2 third-round draft picks. Do what you can. Find a pass rusher in free agency. They could get Ngagwe. Mm-hmm. They can get Ngagwe from the Minnesota Vikings because they're not bringing it back. You can reconstruct this team right off the offseason and become a good team next year with a good coach, good defensive coordinator, and arguably a revolutionizing change of pace quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. As great as Sam Darnold could be, if you can get Trevor Lawrence, and even if Sam Darnold becomes a great quarterback in another organization, you have a guy that you can build your team around for the next 15 years that everybody says is a no-braining superstar. That's what they're saying.
Right, well, didn't they say the same thing about Sam Darnold?
They didn't. They said Sam Darnold.
Not to that level.
No, not to this level. Not to this level. They're saying that this kid is absolutely, he has no weaknesses. Sam, they said, he has fumbling problems. He throws a lot of interceptions. That's what they said about it. This guy is accurate. This guy doesn't throw interceptions. Go look how many interceptions he's thrown this year in the 4 or 5 games that he's played. He's thrown none. He's thrown 1. He's thrown one. Yeah. He's thrown 1. 1 in 5 games.
And even looking at his whole career, I think he had 1 fluky game where he threw 3 against, I want to say, North Carolina or Virginia Tech or one of those teams. And beyond that, he's never thrown more than 1 beyond that. And most of the games he throws none.
That's why you have to look at the big picture. As a Jet fan, as much as you don't want to hear it and as much as I don't want to say it, Sam Darnold might be on his way out. And
you know what? You need to trade him at the trading deadline.
They might. They very much might. They very much might. Or, you know what Joe Douglas will do? He will dangle him. He will dangle him at the end of the season. And what they will do, because I'm sure Pittsburgh, Chicago, a ton of teams will line
the Colts,
up.
I think so.
The Colts, they'll all line up and give you what you want for him. They're going to want a first round and a third round. I think you can get a first and a third for Sam. And I could see it happening. And if you can bring in Trevor Lawrence, you'll add another second-round draft pick or third-round draft pick to a slew of third-round draft picks you have this year and second round, and then you can rebuild your team off the draft and free agency next year. Get rid of Le'Veon Bell at trade deadline, move away from C.J. Mosley because he don't want to be there, and build and bring in the right coach. And I'm telling you, and Eric Coleman told me this. Eric Bieniemy is the guy. He is the guy. He is the guy that will absolutely, and maybe ask Eric Bieniemy in the offseason, could you win with Sam or do you want Trevor? You take your pick. If you want Trevor, if you want Sam, we will trade out of that first-round draft pick, get a slew of first-round draft picks for the next 3 or 4 years, and keep Sam and build around Sam if you think you can win with Sam.
That kind of trade is going to be bigger than the RG trade.
Huge.
If that happens.
You'll get 4 first-round draft picks for somebody like Trevor Lawrence. And maybe a couple third rounds. You could get pretty much a team's organization for the next 2 or 3 years if they think Trevor Lawrence could change their organization for the good. So again, I just think the smartest thing for the Jets to do is they're doing the right thing. I think Joe Douglas is doing the right thing. You want to lose, you want to get Trevor Lawrence, and I think that's what he wants to do because he knows Adam Gase is dead man walking. He's already at the pet cemetery. He's digging himself the hole. He's already going in the hole. He's not going to be the Jets head coach at the end of the season. We all know that. Everybody and their mother knows he's no longer going to be the head coach of the Jets. So why are Jet fans complaining that Adam Gase is still there? It's good that he's still there. They have a better chance of losing. Look what happened this year. The Texans,
wow,
the O'Brien. Look at O'Brien. O'Brien got fired.
I love you to death.
I'm just telling you the truth.
I swear to God, I love you to death, but I disagree. I disagree.
O'Brien got fired. Did they win this week? Did Deshaun Watson have his best game of the season this week? He did. Why? Because O'Brien's not there. Okay? Dan Quinn was fired yesterday. I guarantee you the Atlanta Falcons win next week. Who do they play next week?
I'm not sure.
Go look them up. I guarantee you they win. I'll 10-1 they win. 10-1 they win. Okay? That's how sure I am. Who are they playing? The Panthers.
Looks like they're on a bye, and then they play the Vikings the following week.
All right, they'll beat the Vikings. I predict they beat the Vikings.
That game might be 50-50.
I bet you they beat the Vikings.
I would take that bet at that point.
I bet you
Those defenses are awful.
I bet you they kill the Vikings. I bet you they kill the Vikings in 2 weeks from now.
I don't know, man.
Who else got fired yesterday?
I think that was the only two.
No, there was somebody else fired yesterday.
Those are the only two so far.
No, but there was somebody fired in the last 2 weeks. It was O'Brien.
No, O'Brien was the first one.
O'Brien. There was other. I'm telling you, there was somebody else fired.
There was not another one.
No, O'Brien was the first one. O'Brien was the first one, and then Dan Quinn was the second. What you're thinking of is all of the reports that Adam Gase was going to get fired shortly after the Broncos game.
I didn't think that. I told you that was going to happen.
And it turned out that right after the Broncos game, the Jets put out a press release saying that Adam Gase will continue to be the head coach for the foreseeable future.
Yes, for the foreseeable future, because everything I'm telling you right now, why would the Jets fire somebody that you're going to have to pay anyways, all the way to the end of the season, and you're going to have to pay him next year if he doesn't find a job, an offensive coordinator job? Why would you do that when you have a chance right now to lose and get the best possible pick you can get? I'm sorry. Sam Darnold is not playing for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I guarantee you they'll probably shut him down for the next 2 or 3 weeks. They're not winning. Why would you put in a quarterback that has, a dislocated shoulder? You're risking his career and his draft stock or trade stock or what you could get for him.
Yeah, look what happened to Andrew Luck with all the shoulder injuries he had.
Look at Dak Prescott. Oh, my God. That guy's been waiting to get that big contract. And then, yes, I feel so bad for that kid. And I was going to go to the break but I got to talk about this. Dak Prescott has been fighting for that big-time contract. He was one of the top 3 quarterbacks all season long. Numbers show it. Touchdowns to yards per ratio, yards per throw, everything. He was second in the league in almost every single category. He's had a sensational season. And what happens? He twists his leg in a different position, trying to drop with the ball.
That really was brutal. I mean, you kind of
as bad as Alex Smith.
He took a gamble. Well, you know what? He's going to be lucky if he gets his franchise tag next year.
I feel so bad for him because he is going to be franchised if the Cowboys decide to bring him back. If Andy Dalton has anywhere close to a decent season with the Cowboys that gets them in the playoffs and gets them, who knows, the NFC title game, who knows what they do.
I really trust Andy Dalton.
Whatever. Andy Dalton's never had an offense like this.
Speedy, you are cool, but good for you.
But
I would say the Bengals' overall rosters a lot of the time are better than this Cowboys team.
Not better than the offense.
Not better than the offense.
Their offense is much better than Andy Dalton's ever had.
That is true.
He's got 3 wide receivers that are capable of being number 2s and number 1s. Okay, and I think Andy Dalton's he's gonna flourish in this offense with Mike McCarthy because he fits Mike McCarthy's offense. He does, and I think that if Andy Dalton has a good season, they might say, you know what, we could pay Andy next year. He signed a 2-year contract. We only have to pay Andy $6-7 million next year as a starting quarterback. Let's just release Dak and let somebody else fend for Dak. And I feel bad for the kid because he was going on a record-breaking pace. Some people said he was going to break 6,000 yards this year. That's where he was going. I mean, he was having a sensational season, and then all of a sudden, this happens against the New York Giants, and his career might be over. It's sad. It really is sad. He lost his brother to suicide before the season started. He lost his mom 2 years ago. This guy's been going through all these crazy things happening to this kid in his career, being drafted in the 4th round, and nobody giving him any credit. He's turned out to be the best quarterback in that draft class. Okay? He has been. Yes, Carson Wentz and Goff have both been in a Super Bowl. One of them won a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott has a winning record in the playoffs. A winning record. Jared Goff doesn't. He doesn't. I think he's 2-2. Or 3-2. 3-3.
2-2. No, you're right.
He's 2-2.
Yep. Dak, I think, is 2-2 as well, if I remember correctly.
No, I think Dak has a winning record in the NFL in the playoffs.
Let's see. Beat the Seahawks the one year.
Just look up the numbers. Don't guess. Look up the numbers.
No, it's 1-2 because they only made it 2 years. They only made it 2 years.
I'm just. To me, it's absolutely appalling how a lot of fans pick on Dak Prescott. This isn't Dak Prescott isn't the reason why the Cowboys defense sucks. Okay. That's not Dak Prescott's fault. That's Jerry Jones. That's his son. That's the coaching. That's everything. Why is Dak Prescott the one to be blamed for it? That kid has done nothing but go out there and play his heart out every single week. When people make fun of him, the Jeffs of the world making fun of him, saying that he's a terrible quarterback, he shouldn't be in the NFL, he shouldn't be starting in the NFL, and every single week, 400 yards, 450 yards, 500 yards, getting better and better every single week, breaking records, and then he breaks and he cracks his ankle, and he might never step on a football field again, quite possibly. This is a bad injury. He might never step on the field again at his age. Maybe he will because he's not Alex Smith. He'll heal quicker. I mean, it's sad. This is a sad story. CJ, what did you think about it?
Well, I tell you, I caught the replay of the injury, and you just gotta your heart goes out to him because at first he was rubbing his calf and kind of thought like maybe he had a cramp or whatever, and then you went and you looked down. And you see that his foot is pointed in the opposite direction that it's supposed to be pointed in the anatomical. And then there were a couple of the Cowboys receivers that were right around, and they immediately looked and they looked away, and they were like frantically trying to get members of the training staff over to go and attend to him. And I mean, then you saw the majority of the Cowboys. They all kneeled around him. They all did like a prayer circle and. And you saw that, once he was loaded onto the car, you saw the tears coming out of his eyes. And he knew that the injury was serious, and, but he still took it like a champ. So, you give him incredible props for his courage, but it's really going to be a difficult injury for him to come back from.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from it.
I just feel bad for him. I feel bad. A lot of Cowboy fans, emotional all over social media. They should be. This is a kid that has worked so hard to get where he is and earn the contract that he's been asking for. And you see guys like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. He's been in there longer than Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes and has played as good as both of them and has still have not gotten his contract. And I have been taking shots at Dak Prescott saying that he doesn't deserve $40 million. After this season and what we saw so far in the 4 games that we've seen him, he deserves $40 million. He deserves it. Anybody that doesn't think that he deserves it, he has shown you that he could be a franchise quarterback and you could build your team and your offense around him. You can. So, and you can win with Dak Prescott. Not win 3 Super Bowls in a row like the Beef things. Not that. But I think that you could win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. Unfortunately, I don't know if Dak Prescott will ever step on a field again. I don't know. We don't know what the severity of what we've seen. Hopefully, we'll find out in the next couple of days. The MRI, he had an MRI last night in the hospital. I'm sure it'll come out either today or tomorrow at the end of the night. So I'm interested to see how bad it is. And I know he had his surgery.
So he actually had his surgery last night.
Yeah. What was it? Do you know?
Dislocated ankle.
Oh, dislocated
ankle surgery. Yep.
Yeah, and that was the same.
Yeah, it was a dislocated ankle along with a compound fracture.
Yeah. Well, who had that same injury? Somebody had that same injury years and years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I got to find out.
Tim Crumley.
No. I think it was a basketball player that had the same injury.
Oh, is that the thing Paul George had? Or?
I think it was Paul George.
Yeah.
Paul
George
was
playing in the Olympics.
No. He snapped his leg.
Oh, that was his leg.
He snapped his leg. That was even more gruesome.
You're right. That one was the one that looked like the Kevin Ware one. Yeah.
That was even more gruesome. Paul George. That's amazing that Paul George came back. Yeah. And athletes have this this ability to come back from injuries like this. It's just sad. It really is. I mean, CJ? Before we let you go, what game really stood out to you on Sunday?
There were a couple of games that stood out to me.
The game that really stood out. There was one that really stood out to me.
The 49ers losing at the Dolphins, I don't know if it was more so because the 49ers kind of struggled or the Dolphins are a little bit better than people were giving them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
So, that definitely stood out to me. Obviously, the Seahawks and Vikings game kind of stood out to me a little bit because we knew that was going to be a very competitive game. It was going to be a tough game, and quite frankly, when I watched that game from start to finish, and you really had that feeling that just Minnesota really just caught Seattle at a bad spot, and they were, but Russell Wilson magic.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, really, nothing really surprised me.
Vegas beating Kansas City wasn't surprising to you?
Not really.
Really?
I did. I'll tell you this. Vegas is dangerous. If Vegas gets into the playoffs, not Kansas City, not any team in the NFC wants to play them. They can win. They have arguably the best tight end in football. You see how big of a beast he is in the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. You cannot stop him. It's crazy how fast he is and how they found him. He was on a practice squad, I think, for the Ravens. Yep. He was a practice squad for the Ravens. They brought him over there, and this guy's the best tight end in football right now. And nobody can argue that. I don't want to hear about Travis Kelce or what's his name again? Kittle. This guy is the best tight end in football, hands down. He could block. He could do everything Kittle and Kelce could do, and do it as well.
Yeah, I'm on a call.
Strong, athletic, and ability. I've been very impressed with Waller. I've been absolutely impressed with him. And Jacobs. Mm-hmm. Jacobs can... This is the best young running back in football.
He's very consistent, which is sometimes hard to find for a lot of these running backs.
An Alabama running back that never achieves anything. Go look at how many Alabama top draft picks have come out of the draft and never turned into anything. Yeah. And this kid, Lacey and
Trent
Richardson, all these guys. How many great running backs come out from college? Ingram was a good running back, but he's not great.
And he took a while. He took a while to get going, though. Too.
This guy is going to be a superstar in this league for the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's really him and Derrick Henry that have carried those Alabama draft picks with the running backs.
It's crazy.
Even a lot of the offensive linemen too didn't pan out for them either.
And you know what also really stood out to me, and I'm going to say this. The Bengals. Everybody keeps talking about how great Joe Burrow looks and blah, 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 blah. Finally, he puts up a dud. He puts up a dud against a very good defense. He finally played a top defense in the league. They put up 3 points, 183 yards, 1 interception, 19 for 30. So all you Burrow fans, I like Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the league. He's been very impressive. Just shut up. Shut up. Put the brakes on. This kid, it's going to take a while for this kid to figure things out. He's not going to throw 300-yard games every single week. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have the weapons Patrick Mahomes has. A.J. Green is washed up, and Boyd he's the only good weapon he has on that team. This team, and Mixon, besides that, they don't have anything. Okay, so their offensive line is definitely better than they have been.
It's a little bit, but you still have Bobby Hart as your right tackle, so have fun with that.
To me, there's a lot of standouts where I'm very surprised. Carolina's been very impressive to me.
Their defense is really good, and they lost a lot in the offseason.
They've been very impressive to me. The fact that the Browns beat Indianapolis yesterday, they were very impressive. Odell Beckham again. I mean, say whatever you want about Odell Beckham, and I am not an Odell Beckham fan. I can't stand Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham has been impressive. I mean, what did he have yesterday? He didn't even have a good game yesterday. But
it was Jarvis Landry.
I'm sorry, not Jarvis. Kareem Hunt had a good game yesterday.
Yes, he did. Mm-hmm.
But Odell Beckham did other things on the field that doesn't show on the score sheet. Mm-hmm. He blocked. He helped block Kareem Hunt in for a touchdown.
Yeah, and he always going to draw attention.
He ran for 18 yards in a position that he did. So Odell Beckham, he's become a team player. That's what's been impressive to me. Not the games that he's had. It's just he's become more of a team player. I think he's figured out what it is. And they have, I guess they finally found a coach. They finally found a coach. A no-name guy that nobody even knows of. I mean, somebody that nobody even knew of. They bring in somebody that nobody expected to be a good coach. He's got more wins with this team than any coach they've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, since Bill Belichick was their coach.
How crazy is that?
And Nick Saban was their defensive coordinator.
How crazy is that, CJ? It took this long. It took 10 years for a coach to win 4 games in a season. And he's a rookie coach. He might go up as coach of the year.
I think he should be. I think not leading right now, but he should be in the nomination.
Well, if they win the division, and they could win the division the way they're playing. I wouldn't be so surprised if they can knock off the Baltimore Ravens because they have weaknesses too. Mm-hmm. You've seen it in their secondary.
They beat them once last year too, so it's possible.
You've seen it in their secondary. They're beatable. They are beatable in their secondary.
If the Browns can get any level of defense in the middle of the field with their coverage, they're going to be a very good team. That's really been performance-wise their only weakness so far this season. Even their run defense, which has been a big weakness for them,
their offensive line's haven't been good. Their offense, even it's been better, but it hasn't been good. I mean, they added some offensive linemen in the draft, and they brought in a top offensive line, Conklin, and Conklin hasn't looked good this year. And their offensive lineman has probably looked as bad as Thomas has looked. So they have not looked good.
But even just
Wills, right?
Well, Jedrick Wills. Even just a little bit better, though.
Who everybody thought was going to be the best one.
I was surprised when I heard that, too. But, even just playing average or even just slightly above average is all they really needed with that amount of offensive talent that they have.
And, Tyler, I don't want to hear about Baker Mayfield because Baker Mayfield wasn't the reason why they won. Baker Mayfield's not the reason why they're winning. 21 for 37, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions is not a good game. So I don't want to hear from Tyler Harrison that Baker Mayfield is one of the best quarterbacks in the league because numbers will show you that he's not. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. CJ, thank you for calling, buddy.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. CJ DeSimone, Weapons Hot, great show. Guys, if you like football, you like CJ and you love Kevin. Kevin has a good quality to him. He speaks from the heart, and I love that about fans. You speak from the heart. You speak from the gut. I do that as well. Clarence Nixon says, from Wise Guy says, Browns are going crazy. Unfortunately, we play the Colts. Hope we steal one. LOL.
If Phillip Rivers keeps throwing all the interceptions he does, maybe you will. Maybe you will.
That could happen. Yesterday there was so many. There weren't a lot of surprises. But there were things that really stood out to me, and I'm not going to go to break right away. I want to finish up with football, and then we'll go to baseball, and we'll go for a little bit of hockey and basketball with the Lakers because I have something to say about the Lakers when we come back from break. There was 2 games that really stood out to me that shows me where the NFL is going, and those 2 games are very, very simple. Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia. You could see that Ben Roethlisberger is back. He's back. And if Pittsburgh has any rhyme or reason with their defense in the playoffs, they could be a dangerous team in the AFC.
How about Chase Claypool? 4 touchdowns.
Fantastic. Yeah. It looks like they found another wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think I could see Juju going somewhere else. Yeah. Because I think Claypool is the guy that they're going to be coveting in the future because he plays like Brown, Antonio Brown. Yeah. His game, he goes out there and he goes off for the ball. Juju likes to go into the slot. I think Juju's more of a slot guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he could be a number 1 guy. I just think he's on the wrong team.
Yeah, remember Claypool was not even being thought of as a wide receiver. Like they were thinking, oh, shit, he's going to play tight end in the NFL, and then he has this great combine, and now he looks like he's going to be a nice player.
Pittsburgh and Houston, and I know people are probably saying, why Houston? Why Houston? Because Houston, to me, was a playoff team going into the season. They were. Even losing DeAndre Hopkins and some of the players they missed in the offseason to free agencies or whatever they decided to go. They were a playoff team because they have one of the most electrifying quarterbacks in the NFL. The problem, and they're a very good defensive team. They are a very good defensive team. The problem with them was O'Brien. O'Brien was the cancer. You saw that in the last couple of years. They fired their coach. They bring in an interim coach. And you saw Deshaun Watson have one of his best games of the season. And Deshaun Watson could win games for you. It's just a shame that Hopkins isn't there because of O'Brien.
Man, the team is very fragile as it is.
I think that Houston could really surprise a lot of people in that division and come back in that division. I don't think that this is Indianapolis' division.
Or Tennessee. They're still
Tennessee either. Yeah, they're undefeated. I could still see Houston becoming a wild card team. I could. I could see them. I think Deshaun Watson is quite capable of coming and winning 2-3 games in a row.
There's only 2 teams, I think, that came back from starting 0-4 and made the playoffs, one of which was the 8-8 Chargers in 2008. But
remember,
8's not going to win this
Remember
division.
what Dabo Sweeney said. Not drafting Deshaun Watson is like not drafting Michael Jordan. He said that. He is Superman. And this could be the proven factor on why a lot of people believe that Deshaun Watson is better than Patrick Mahomes. So a lot of people think that.
I like him more as a prospect than Patrick Mahomes.
So a lot of people have thought that about when they both were drafted, and they're always going to be compared to one another moving forward. So I would really, really like to see Deshaun Watson come and take his team back into a playoff hunt and maybe get this team into the playoffs and cause a lot of havoc in the playoffs. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into the NBA and the NBA champions, Los Angeles Lakers. And a lot of people believe that Adam Silver was the reason why there was a season and the reason why the LA Lakers are NBA champions. When we come back, we will get into that here on Down to the Wire. And by the way, you guys are going to love my take on this when we come back here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990 like Kevin did, like CJ Mosley did, CJ DeSimone did. Called him CJ Mosley. Maybe I'm just dreaming about CJ Mosley, not a New York Jet. Remember, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. By the way, I'm reconstructing our website. Our new website will be up in the next week or so. You guys are going to like the reconstruction of the new website. And download our app, guys. If you don't have our app, go to iOS, go to Android, WWSRN. You can read our stories, watch our shows, listen to our shows live, listen to the clips of our shows, everything, our events that we're going to be doing, hopefully in the near future after COVID-19. All the different pictures. It's great, guys. It's right at your fingertips. That's why we had it made for you guys, for the fans. I wanted to get into this NBA take, and I've been all over social media all day about LeBron James. Adam Silver was the reason why LeBron James won his fourth title, why the Lakers won another title, that they shouldn't have been a season. This COVID-19 has affected and has washed up the talent going into the playoffs this year. All the different things that I've read throughout social media, from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook, all the garbage that I've been hearing. I will say this. LeBron James proved why he's still the best player in the NBA. He proved it. I don't think there's any reason to argue that LeBron James isn't the greatest player in the NBA for the last 20 years. Even when Mamba was in the NBA. Now, there are a lot of stories coming out that the reason why Adam Silver wanted to bring back this season was because Kobe Bryant's passing, and that he wanted the Lakers to win a championship and let the Lakers and let the Bryant family ride off to the sunset with a championship, another championship, number 17. And I'll tell you guys this. That is so far from the truth. Now, I don't like what Adam Silver has done so far, and I have my own thoughts with the adding Black Lives Matter on a basketball court. I disagree cold-heartedly. I would not do that. That's just my opinion. I agree with everything that's going on in the world and why players are doing what they're doing and standing for what they're standing for. But I disagree with a lot of things Adam Silver has done with the notion with Black Lives Matter. I think it's ridiculous. I don't like that LeBron James has spoken out on his political thoughts while we should be thinking about the NBA and the playoffs, not his political thoughts on what's going on in the world, because that's not going to satisfy the fans moving forward if the Lakers win a championship, because all people are going to remember with the Lakers winning a championship is COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter and what LeBron James has said on and off the court. Nobody's going to remember LeBron James having a triple-double in game number 6 in the NBA championship, or what he did in game number 5, back and forth with Jimmy Butler, 40 points, 13 assists and 9 rebounds or 8 rebounds. Nobody's going to remember that.
Yeah, and again, some of these like storybook endings, you want to say they rigged it for the league and rigged it for the Lakers. You still have the emotional aspect of having to deal with all that. Remember the day that we found out about the passing of Kobe and Gianna. A lot of these players didn't even want to play. They couldn't do it. They went on anyway. Obviously, they did the 8-second, 24-second violations in his honor. But a lot of those players didn't want to play. They weren't in that state of mind. So that adds extra pressure on the Lakers, too. It's not something that's going to be gifted to them. And they still played well amidst all that, thinking about all that, and doing it for a fan base that obviously lost a legend.
Well, I will say this. They weren't considered the best team going into the playoffs anyways. The Clippers were. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought the Clippers were going to win a championship. Not the Lakers. And I understand why everybody is taking shots at Adam Silver because of what his thoughts were at the end of the season, at the end of the game last night, stating that all the trials and tribulations the Lakers organization just went through, the whole NBA went through of Kobe's passing. It wasn't just the Lakers. Yes, he was an all-time Laker great. Yes, he was the Lakers for the last 15, 20 years. But it wasn't all about Kobe Bryant in that game. LeBron James outplayed and outdueled Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler was defended for the first game of this series by LeBron James. Go look. Jimmy Butler had 12 points in the game. He had 12 points. Why? Why did Jimmy Butler have 12 points in the game? Because LeBron James was defending him the whole game.
The whole team had only 36 at halftime.
I mean, it was an absolute onslaught. They absolutely, you want to talk about Frank Vogel? I am not a big Frank Vogel fan. A matter of fact, Frank Vogel was handed a great team, handed the king, handed Anthony Davis. He was handed a championship. All he had to do was put it together. That's all he had to do with him and Jason Kidd. That's all they got to do. What was impressive about Frank Vogel's defense, because everybody knows Frank Vogel is a defensive-minded coach, is they played their asses off in game number 6 to shut down Jimmy Butler and that offense. They couldn't do anything in the second, first, and even third quarter. The Lakers were playing around with them in the fourth quarter. They were getting them easy layups, easy shots, open shots. The game was over. The game was over after the first half, when they were up by 30 points. I was sitting there watching the game with Eric Martini, and he kept telling me, I could see them coming back. No team in history in the NBA Finals has ever had a 30-point lead and given up a 30-point lead in the second half.
And no team that scores 36 points at a half is going to be able to come back from that kind of deficit either. That's pretty embarrassing.
It was remarkable.
And it was remarkable on the Lakers side.
It was remarkable what the Lakers did. Shut down a very good offensive team throughout the playoffs. Absolutely was one of the top offensive teams in the playoffs. And they shut down that offense. So I know a lot of people want to take shots at of Adam Silver, why he brought the NBA back this year, that he should have canceled the season because he wanted to help the Lakers win their number 17 championship because of Kobe Bryant's death. I think it's crazy to even think that. Now, am I a big Adam Silver fan after this season? The answer is no. Absolutely not. Adam Silver, who I thought was the best commissioner in professional sports.
That's not saying much.
Has become right there with Roger Goodell and Gary Bettman. And believe it or not, the guy that took a step forward this offseason and this playoff was Gary Bettman. Gary Bettman put on a great playoff display. The way he designed it, the qualifiers, the playoffs, it was a great ending. You saw a great team win a championship. It was fun, fantastic. It was fun to watch, like you always expect that NHL playoffs to be. The NBA wasn't fun. It really wasn't. Watching the Clippers get knocked off, even though it was surprising, and watching the Nuggets come back from a 3-1 deficit, not once but twice against Utah and a great team like that, and then get to the Western Conference Finals and almost knock off the Lakers. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Who knows what would have happened if Anthony Davis doesn't hit that buzzer beater? That could be a different series.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. But I'm bothered by when you look at the big picture of what we've seen so far with the NBA. The NBA has been the laughing stock of professional sports in the playoffs. They have been. And I'll tell you why. The way the whole brought back the I wouldn't say the whole social injustice situation, and the way they brought it to the front of the playoffs, kind of like blocking the playoffs. The fact that LeBron James and Chris Paul tried to boycott the season and go to Barack Obama, and Barack Obama made the decision that there should be an NBA season was a joke. I just think a lot of things that the NBA, threw out there that really hurt the public eye of where the NBA is in the social media world and everything like that, they were a joke. But to blame Adam Silver on the reason why he wanted to bring back the game in the league because of COVID-19 was to help the Lakers win number 17 because of Kobe Bryant's death is a joke. It's not true. That is so untrue. LeBron James earned every bit of why he stepped on the court. LeBron James is by far the best basketball player in the NBA. Not Giannis, not Luka Doncic, not Anthony Davis, not anybody is LeBron James. They're not. And as cocky as that man is, and he's a cocky SOB. He is a cocky SOB. He has every right to be cocky. He's the greatest basketball player we've seen since Michael Jordan. It's not Kobe Bryant. It's him. He is the greatest. He will have every single record. He already has triple doubles. He's 2 away from breaking Magic Johnson's triple double record in the finals. Yeah. I mean, he's going to have every single basketball record before he's done. He's still not going to pass Michael Jordan, even if he wins 6 titles, and he quite possibly could with the Lakers. Oh, yeah. He could. But he's not going to be Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan went 6 of 6.
Yeah, he was a special class of his own.
He's not Michael Jordan. And I'm so sick and tired of listening to people that don't know who Michael Jordan is or just seen or heard tales of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I was seeing all throughout Twitter yesterday. There were still people saying, this championship puts him as the GOAT, or he was the GOAT already, or something like that.
He's not the GOAT.
He's not.
He's not even close. He's not even close. He couldn't sniff Michael Jordan's ass, okay? And that's saying a lot because of what LeBron James has done. And LeBron James is the second best basketball player in NBA history. Agreed. Second best. And he will always be second best. No Kobe, who's not even in the top 10, okay? We've said this over and over again.
You're 17th best player
of
all time.
And a lot of people, when I start bringing up players, I started when I sat down with Eric, and you bring up Oscar Robertson. He's got better numbers than Kobe Bryant in the playoffs. I can name a bunch of players that have better numbers than Kobe Bryant in the regular season and the playoffs. Jerry West has better numbers in the playoffs and in the regular season than Kobe Bryant. Is he considered better than Kobe Bryant? No. And there was no 3-point line when Jerry West played in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I will tell you, Kobe Bryant, again, as great as Kobe was, he is not in the top 10 of all time. He's not. He's not. He's not better than Wilt Chamberlain. He's not better than He's not better than Bill Russell. He's not better than Shaquille O'Neal. He's not better than Tim Duncan. He's not better than these guys. He's just not. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. He's not.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem Olajuwon. He's not. He's right there in the echelon of 15, 16, 17. That's where I would say. Because I could take a lot of players. There are players right now in the league that I would take over him. Right now. That are in the league. When Anthony Davis retires, I'm taking Anthony Davis.
Kevin Durant, you think?
Kevin Durant, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are players out there that are in the league right now that I would take over Kobe Bryant. Not because Kobe wasn't a great player. He was. But he's not in my top 10. He's not in a lot of people's top 10.
He's right on the edge of mine. I have to do a whole list. I don't really get into these basketball lists because there's a lot of arguments.
Is he better than Rick Barry?
I think so.
You're out of your mind.
Okay.
You're out of your mind and Mark is sitting right there. Mark saw Rick Barry play.
No, but not that old.
You never saw Rick Barry play?
No.
Wow. I've seen Rick Barry play. I didn't see him live, but I've seen video and footage.
Yeah, I've seen video, obviously, yeah.
Rick Barry was a better all-around player than Kobe Bryant was. He was Rick Barry has the best free-throw shooting percentage in NBA history.
Or any style.
It doesn't matter.
No, I know. I love it.
It doesn't matter. Rick Barry is one of the greatest small forward, power forwards in NBA history.
Don't forget, he went to the ABA. And he built that league a little bit. I mean, he could have had a great NBA career his whole career, but he chose to go to the ABA because his father-in-law actually was coaching one of the teams And then, I mean, he's an NBA Hall of Famer. To compare him to Kobe is hard because they're two different players. Kobe's a lot more athletic.
Their numbers are identical. Their numbers are identical. Almost identical.
Rick Barry knew how to score. Back then, it was a different game. Back then, they shot the ball like 400 times a game because it was just up and down the court. When Kobe played, it was a little more focused, I guess, on defense and on you had you're allowed to play zone. There are a lot of different things that had come by the time Kobe got there.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that's a hard comparison to make. I think both of them are great. They both do different things. I wouldn't mind having either of them on my team. They're both definitely Hall of Famers. I love Kobe. I love Rick Barry. But Rick Barry was a winner. He hated to lose.
So was Kobe. Kobe was a winner too, but Kobe also played with Shaquille O'Neal. Rick Barry, when he came into the NBA, he was the guy. So,
and he won the title with the 1975 Warriors, which really didn't have much besides him. And they had they had Clifford Ray. They had a young guy who wound up winning a couple titles with the Lakers. And Magic Johnson, I forget his name. But they weren't that good that those Warrior teams that won in 75, they beat the Bullets, who were very good, at Elvin Hayes and guys like that. They wound up winning the title later in the 70s. They were an underdog. And Al Attles was the coach. He was one of the first black head coaches in the NBA. So he had to really work at what he did, Rick Barry. And he was a phenomenal foul shooter, absolutely phenomenal foul shooter, probably the best in the NBA.
He is the greatest. He's the greatest of all time, not even close. But that's not even an argument. There are other guys, what I'm saying, and I don't want to get into this too long, that I would take over Kobe Bryant. They're just so many great players that we have seen over the years that I honestly would take over Kobe Bryant because of the way he did it, the time that they did it, and the dominance they did. Even Charles Barkley, at the top of his game, Charles Barkley was as good as anybody. Good as anybody.
Absolutely. Barkley was great.
He was great. Look at his numbers. They're very considerable to Kobe Bryant's numbers. And Kobe, as good as he was in the playoffs, he's not an all-time great in the playoffs. He's not. Go look at his numbers. He's not even close to LeBron. LeBron averages 7 more points than Kobe does every single playoff game. 7 more points. That's a lot.
And then I
think LeBron has really separated himself from everybody. I mean, even
not Michael Jordan.
Jordan. It's hard. You get into blasphemy whenever I would challenge Jordan because believe me, I know how great Jordan was. Jordan did things that still hurt me today, being a Knicks fan. But besides that, Jordan was just the greatness of Jordan. The fact that he hated to lose. The fact that he didn't really have. Scottie Pippen was a good player. He's definitely one of the I'd say top 100 in NBA history. I don't know about top 50, but it's not like he had a Kareem, Magic had a Kareem, Magic had a Worthy. Jordan had to beat, Jordan really was responsible for so much of that success on that team. And he did so many legendary things. I mean, scoring all those points when he was sick that game and just rising to every level of competition that he had. He's beyond anything that I would ever think could be approached again. But I think when you look at LeBron, the fact that he's now been to the NBA Finals and won with 3 different teams, that's a real accomplishment.
No, it's a great accomplishment. Anybody that doesn't think that LeBron James hasn't made a great accomplishment, he has. But LeBron James, when you're trying to compare him to Michael Jordan, you'll never be able to compare him to Michael Jordan.
Jordan's he's just one of those guys.
A league of his own. In the league of his own.
It's hard to compare anybody to.
So, as you guys know, we call this segment, we do this every single Monday. We call this segment Mark It Up.
This is Mark It Up.
All right, Mark, are you ready?
Sure. Now, I mean, did you guys really watch the NBA Finals? I mean, has there been anything, sports this year, has been, we talked about it all the time. It's just very, very weird. You had an NHL champion and an NBA champion, and they just kind of passed in the wind. And now you're going to have, the ALCS started, the NLCS is going to start tonight. It's just, sports has taken such a backseat with everything else that's going on. It's hard to really appreciate it for what it is. I mean, just a guy like LeBron getting the accomplishment that he did. Last year, LA was pretty, they didn't even make the playoffs. and they did get Anthony Davis, so you knew that they were going to be better, but everybody was touting the Clippers, and then they do what they always do, no matter what happened or what's going on in the world. They just can't seem to get past the second round. And then the Lakers go on and win the NBA title. But I think the Heat really surprised me. They weren't on my radar at all when the postseason began, and they really showed me something with their toughness and their ability to defend. And, Jimmy Butler really stepped up his game and stepped forward as one of the better players in the NBA now. I don't know if you could put it where you would put him, but he really stood out in the postseason.
Absolutely did. Absolutely. I love what Jimmy Butler had to say after the game. He says that, listen, we played our hearts out, and next year I think we'll be a better team. We're a young team. We're a growing team, and we're already winning now. So just imagine with a better team and some other players that we're going to add in the offseason where we could be next year. So he's right. I think they're one of the best teams. They're going to be one of the best teams going into the East next year. But now you're going to have to worry about the Nets. I mean, you have Kevin Durant coming back. Kyrie Irving's going to be 100%. They might add another superstar to that team. We don't know where the Greek Freak's going. Maybe he stays over there in Milwaukee. Maybe he goes to the West. Maybe he stays here in the East and it surprises the world and goes to the Knicks. Who knows?
The Knicks.
Did you say he was going to go to Miami?
Positive to the Knicks once in our life.
I don't know. Anything could happen. We don't know where the Greek Freak wants to go. It might happen. He might say, you know what, I want to go play for Tom Thibodeau. I don't know. Chris Paul goes here. He said he wants to play with Chris Paul. Maybe if the Knicks land Chris Paul, that could draw Giannis to go over there and play with Chris Paul. Who knows?
Maybe.
Anything's possible. And the Knicks still have a slew of first-round draft picks that they're going to have in the next 7 years. So the Knicks could be set in a very good spot. If they could draw one superstar, maybe they could draw the other. So anything's possible. And could you imagine Giannis and Chris Paul go to the Knicks? That makes the Knicks a championship competitive team right there in the Eastern Conference already. So anything's possible. I'm not saying that's going to happen. So all you fans out there saying that I think the Knicks are going to get Giannis, I didn't say they're going to get Giannis.
Say it. No, you didn't.
I'm saying that anything could happen. You just don't know what could happen. That's all I'm saying. So, that's it.
Now, how do you feel about the Yankees losing to the Rays?
I was very upset, and I will say this, and I'm not. I've said this. I said this on the Weekend Crunch on Saturday with Eric and Speedy. I am upset with the Yankees because it was a short season. It was 60 games. The Yankees could never stay healthy all season long, even in 60 games. They can never stay healthy in 162 games. How could they stay healthy in a 60-game season? They go into playoffs. They're smashing the ball against Cleveland. They smashed the ball against Tampa in the first 2 or 3 games, and they couldn't hit a lick in the final game. It doesn't make any sense. This shows you it's not coaching. It's not managing. It has nothing to do with it. And these players are prima donnas. You have Aaron Judge, who couldn't hit a lick against the Tampa Bay Rays. The only person that really hit in that series is Gleyber Torres and Giancarlo Stanton. That's it. Everybody else couldn't hit a lick. And Aaron Hicks needs to go. Gardner needs to retire. I mean, this team something needs to be done with, and the pitching staff. You cannot, Garrett Cole pitched his heart out in game number 5. His heart out. And then the bullpen completely plummethed. Chapman is done. They need to move on from Chapman. They need to find another closer, maybe Hader or somebody like that. They need to do something. It's not Chapman. This bullpen is it's terrible. This is the worst bullpen with the New York Yankees in 20 years, and I knew the Yankees weren't going to win a World Series, even if they got out of this series.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in them, too. I would challenge most baseball fans to name like 6 or 7 guys on the Rays. They probably couldn't do it. I never thought the Yankees would lose to them in a series. Things happen during the regular season. This is a weird regular season. So many different things happen anyway. So, whoever won the division didn't matter because they all had to do the same thing in the first round anyway. So there was really no advantage to winning the division. You each had to win a best-of-3 series. And there was no home field advantage because there was no fans, so it didn't matter. But I thought that they were the best team in the AL. They should have won the American League, and they should be playing the Dodgers, or if the Braves can beat the Dodgers, which it's going to be a good series, being the way Atlanta's pitched so far. But again, 60 games for baseball. I mean, I was talking about this with Snowman the other day. You have teams like the 2002 Angels and 2003 Marlins. They weren't even in near 500 after 60 games. They wound up winning the World Series, both those teams. So through 60 games, not much really can happen to determine a true champion. That's why this year really doesn't even the team that's going to win the World Series, it really isn't much when you're looking at real champions that have played 162 games during the postseason and got on to win the World Series.
Aaron Boone is on the hot seat. I can tell you that right now.
No, he shouldn't be.
He's going to be on the hot seat. If the Yankees do not win a championship next year, he will be gone. I guarantee it. He will be gone. This is a team, two seasons with 100 or more wins. Mm-hmm. You go all the way to a spot where everybody expected you to be a championship competitive team, even with a short season. Everybody picked you. Everybody, even Eric Coleman, who knows nothing about baseball, picks you.
The official jinx.
And you lose. So I don't know.
The other problem that we have to look at, Mark, too, is I said this on the Weekend Crunch, is the identity of the Yankees. They can't keep trying to just swing for the home runs all the time, and they strike out too much in the playoffs, which doesn't win in the playoffs. Analytics are great, and they definitely have helped player development. They've helped baseball strategy, I think, but you still need some level of contact hitting, and you saw it with LeMahieu. You've seen that with LeMahieu. He
was good too. I didn't give him credit either.
Yes, and
DJ LeMahieu had a good series too.
Batting title this year, an MVP candidate for sure.
He's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah, you need more players like that though, and the player. It's not like they can't do it. It's not like they're incapable players. It's not like they have a bunch of Ryan Howards on the team. They have guys that are definitely capable of doing it, but just doesn't seem like their approach has been that way in the playoffs. And I think they struck out at one point. I want to say Game 4 against the Rays or Game 5.
My God,
I think they struck out like 16 times.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember too.
How do the Rays find this guy Glasso? They find all these guys, man. They trade away people. Superstar pitchers. They're no longer superstar pitchers. They bring in this kid. He comes out of nowhere, and he's one of the best pitchers in the American League. It doesn't make any sense.
Especially since how long Archer was on the trade clock.
The Yankees haven't won since 2009, so it's not like they had championship after championship after championship. I mean, the coach came in, and he hit one of the biggest postseason home runs ever. So Yankee fans love him already. Okay, so Boone is a guy that really has done well, I think. I mean, he's brought them.
He's done great. But you got to win.
But he's brought them, to the playoffs, and they've got to the championship series before. I didn't think they were better than the Astros last year. This was the only year I thought they really should have won. But again, it's just so many unknowns with the 60 games. There's just so many things that could have gone wrong. And they didn't win. So.
Tanaka is terrible, too. Absolutely horrendous. Absolutely. He needs to be gone. They cannot bring Tanaka back. They cannot. I don't care if he takes less money. You'll bring him back for less money as a fourth or fifth starter. I'm not bringing Tanaka more than a fourth or fifth starter. He was horrendous.
They still got talent everywhere. They still got a load full of guys in the minor league system.
Yes.
They're going to be good for a long time.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's not easy to win a World Series every year. I mean, look at the Oakland A's, okay? They've been consistently good for the last 20 years, and they haven't even gotten to the World Series. So the Yankees have really, when you talk about what they've done since the wild card era, the Yankees have been, no doubt, the best team in baseball.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
They've won the most championships, and they've made the playoffs. I think they only haven't made the playoffs like 3 or 4 years in that span. So they've done really exceedingly well. You can't win every year. There are going to be teams that are going to be things that go against you, but I don't think if Boone gets fired, that would be a tragedy. Just a tragedy.
If they don't win a championship next year, he'll be fired. I guarantee it.
Well, maybe next year, but I to fire him.
No, not this year.
No,
next
not this year. It's tough to fire anyone on this kind of season.
Next year.
All right. So, what do you think about Adam Gase finally relinquishing the play calling? Shouldn't he just relinquish his job?
No.
But look, the point is...
The point is to lose so you get the number one pick. That's the point.
Well, yeah, but you lose so you can get rid of him.
Who gives you the best chance to lose? Adam Gase. So you keep him there. You keep him there.
Errol, I changed my mind. You're right.
That has to be one of the funniest statements of all time. Who gives you the best chance to lose?
Absolutely. I want that genius behind the play calling. I mean, the thing I would worry more about is the development of the players. That's why you need a coach in there who knows what he's doing. And, let's talk about the guys that they could get, okay? To me, there's one clear guy I would go after, that, and that's Harbaugh. I don't care what it's going to take to get him out of Michigan. You get him. And I don't want to hear...
A lot of Jet fans don't want him. CJ don't want him. CJ don't want him.
The Jet fans know. What did they know? The guy turned around the Niners and he made it to the Super Bowl.
I agree. I would absolutely take Jim Harbaugh in a heartbeat. I would.
Yeah. So but that's what they need. They need a proven guy who has been in the NFL, been successful. He turned around a Niners team that had basically the same team in 2011 that they had in 2010, and he made it to the championship game that year. Then he made it to the Super Bowl the next year. So I think that this is a guy that can win. I don't want to hear about, he's not coming. Just get him, okay? Get him. They haven't gotten the guy for so long. They haven't gotten guys that they've wanted for so long. Now we settle for the crap that's left over. Enough. Douglas is cleaning house.
I know who I want. I want Eric Bieniemy. That's who I want.
Well, no, that would be a good choice. But the one thing I don't like about that is the Jets never hit on any of those guys.
There's something about him. Eric Coleman swears on him. He knows him personally.
I thought Herm Edwards was going to be a great coach. I loved Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards was a good coach. He wasn't a great coach. He was a good coach.
He was a good coach, but he wasn't a guy. He didn't turn the ship around.
He's a defensive coordinator. This guy's an offensive mind.
And Eric Bieniemy's been highly profiled in a lot of different spots for coaching rumors for the last 2 years.
He's a guy I would definitely give a shot. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if they got him. But if they go to like another retread that has had like a Dan Quinn, that God forbid they hire.
No. He could be the defensive. I wouldn't mind him a defensive coordinator for the Jets. I think.
Look, there are guys that are great at coordinating jobs. Yeah. North Florida was an excellent coordinator. I'd take him any day as a coordinator. I never want him as head coach.
I think Dan Quinn would get more out of the players right now that he has, that the Jets have right now, at getting to the quarterback than Greg Williams. He lost. Greg Williams lost the defense, man. He lost them.
Yeah, but all the guys are. This is a weird year, man. All the guys are hurt. It's like everything's so weird. But look, bring back Rex as a defensive coordinator. I'd love to see him as a defensive coordinator. He was a great defensive coordinator.
To me, there was a lot of things that stood out to me with the New York Jets this week. But the one thing that really stands out to me, Jet fans should not be complaining that Adam Gase is still there. If anything, you should be celebrating.
You got a good point. Yeah. I give you that, Errol. That's a great point.
You should be celebrating, because I guarantee you when he gets fired, we bring in a guy and the Jets will win the next week after that. I guarantee you. And screw the Jets from getting the number one pick. I can see the Jets doing that.
The Picasso syndrome, where they 2-7 and then he goes on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. We're not going to see Sam for at least 4 weeks. He has a dislocated throwing shoulder. There's no way they're going to bring the kid back when it could put him at risk career-wise, or if he's a trading piece, moving him in the offseason. You want him to be 100% healthy, where teams will be lining up if you decide that you don't want him and you want to draft Trevor Lawrence. So that's going to be up to the Jets and Joe Douglas. Let Joe Douglas make that decision. If he thinks that Sam is the guy, he will keep Sam. If he doesn't think Sam's the guy, he will draft Trevor Lawrence.
I trust Douglas. Yeah. All right, so as we end up here, we'll finish with college football, because we got a great game this week.
We still got time anyways, because there is no Wise Guys tonight. So.
Oh, okay. Well, Clemson beat Miami this past week. I thought Miami it was their time to really step up and be the U that everybody remembers, the Michael Irvin, the Ray Lewis, all those guys that they brag about, Frank Gore, those guys that brag about the U. This was their time to step back in it, and they didn't. And they got slapped around by Clemson. But Clemson's a good, best team in the country right now. And you can't just say, they're in the ACC anymore, because they beat teams pretty handily. And whenever a team is supposed to challenge them, they haven't. So they've really stepped up as far as the competition in the ACC. A couple of years ago, they struggled against North Carolina. They struggled against Syracuse. They don't seem to be doing that anymore. In the SEC, though, which is really the only other conference that matters right now, the game of the year is going to be Georgia against Alabama. Alabama has not lost to an SEC East team since they lost to South Carolina in 2010. They've won 27 straight against teams from the Eastern Division. That is unbelievably good. And I don't think Georgia has the offense to beat them. Alabama put 723 yards up on Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss can't stop.
That doesn't say much.
Me, you, and Speedy can go out there and get 600 yards. Them not being able to stop Alabama is no big deal. But Alabama ate up Texas A&M. They ate up Missouri. Then you saw Missouri beat LSU.
Yeah.
You saw Georgia's really the only team that has played consistently great other than Alabama.
They're my national champions, Georgia.
Well,
Georgia Clemson, national title game.
They don't have a quarterback. You got to be able to score. They don't have a quarterback. I don't trust this guy being able to put up the numbers that Mac Jones can put up, or that even when they play Florida, they're going to have a hard time scoring. Look, Florida lost to a good team. Texas A&M was supposed to challenge Alabama for the West this year, okay? And they beat them 41-38. It was a great game. Florida, I don't think Florida's going to lose again. They're pretty good. And, in the East, you see, South Carolina, it's not going to be good. Tennessee, they had their shot this week against Georgia.
Terrible second
half. They laid
half.
a big egg. So I don't want to hear about Tennessee anymore, okay? And for the last 10 years, it's been Florida or Georgia in the SEC East. It's been LSU, Auburn, or Alabama in the SEC West. And there's no LSU anymore. They're done. Auburn, they have to cheat in order to win. They did again last week against Arkansas, for crying out loud. I mean, I don't know if you saw the play, but it was clearly an incomplete pass. They should have never gotten away with it.
Oh, yeah.
But, you saw it last year against Alabama when they got the extra play and it get the field goal at the end of the first half. There always seems to be clock problems down at Alabama at Auburn. Even the kick six, that was because somehow they got an extra second left on the clock in that game. So something always seems to happen down there in Auburn.
If Alabama made the kick, it could have been fishy on their end too, and people would be complaining about it.
It just seemed to work out that way. And then Alabama, the guy. They can't make like a 20-yard field goal, Alabama. That's the one weakness they've had during Saban's era, is they can't get a guy to kick an extra point.
Right.
So, that was a long shot. But anyway, I just think it's funny the amount of things that happened down there in Auburn.
What did you think about the Islanders making a trade today?
Devin Toews for the 2 second-round picks for the Avalanche, right? Well, Toews a guy there; he's expendable.
Mm-hmm.
They need more team speed, I think.
Well, they needed a spot for Noah Dobson, and Noah Dobson's going to be fitting in like a glove. You have Bodie Wild coming up next year. I think you'll see Bodie Wild possibly in the NHL. So they have some good defensemen that are coming up now. So, and that kid Salo too from the Islanders, the defenseman that everybody keeps talking, Finnish player. That they're saying that he's going to be, he could be a star at the defensive position too. So, I think the Islanders have more than enough prospects to move up in position. I think they got to pay Barzell in the offseason this year. Mm-hmm. They got other people that they're going to have to expend and pay to. So, and they have to bring in another offensive player.
They got to. Yeah, they got to. All right. Here, let's get this done right now. Who would you want to see back, and who would you see expendable to get a Draisaitl?
I want to. I don't know about. They're not getting Draisaitl.
Yeah, his price is very high right now.
He's the kind of guy that you need.
The guy from Edmonton you're talking about?
Yeah, who won the Hart Trophy.
He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
I'm not saying look,
Barzell, you're going to have to give up. You're going to have to give. I'll tell you what you're going to have to get Draisaitl. You're going to have to give up Barzell. You're going to have to give up one of their top defensemen, either Dobson or one of the young kids that they have in their farm system, and probably a first or a second round draft pick. That's what you're going to have to give up.
Barzell, but I would give up anything else.
You would give up Noah Dobson?
I would give up. Yeah, well. You got to give up to get a guy like that. I mean,
you're giving up possibly one of the top 5, top 7 defensemen in the future in the NHL. You're going to give up defensemen are harder to find, Mark. They're harder to find.
There aren't many guys that are at the level that can score like Draisaitl can. Okay,
there's not many as good as this kid's going to be. He's big, he's strong, he can skate, and he's a good offensive player.
Well, I think the Islanders can afford to give him. I think they're still strong enough defensively. The reason why the Islanders
with who? A bunch of 30-year-old boys.
The reason why the Islanders won't win is because they won't score enough.
They're going to get it. I still think they're going to get Patrick Laney. I really do. They're going to find a way. I do. I think they're going to find a way to make the trade. I don't know, because I thought Devin Tames would have been a perfect fit, like a glove. But yeah. I think they're looking for a left-handed shot. Mayfield could be a guy that would fit in that category. It's not just Mayfield. They're going to have to give up a couple of first-round draft picks. Yeah. They're going to have to give up some players for Patrick Laney. But I could see Patrick Laney going to the Islanders. Absolutely.
Laney would be good. I mean, he's a young guy. He's definitely got more potential to get better.
Put him with Barzell, a huge potential. Barzell has the guy that he can put the puck on his stick, and he can put it right in the net. I mean, the guy's a sniper.
Laney isn't bad. I would definitely.
Laney's never played with a guy that can pass the puck like Barzell. If Barzell, he will make Barzell a 30-goal scorer. He will make Barzell that kind of player because he'll open up the ice for Barzell.
Well, Barzell can score. Look, the reason Barzell, if you remember the year with Tavares, Barzell was awesome. I mean, the reason why the Islanders haven't scored the last 2 years is because they're not supposed to.
Well, I understand that, but he will open up the ice for Barzell. He'll open up, places where Barzell can plant his body and give him a more of a percentage of a shot to put the puck in the net. Where Barzell goes is Barzell has to make every single thing open. He's got to open up everything on the ice. With Laney, Laney's so big, he's so strong. He'll position himself in a spot where if Barzell gets him the puck, he'll be able to get the puck back to Barzell so he can put the puck in the net. So I do think
Bavillier really stepped up.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's going to be another guy.
Yeah, that needed to happen. So if they get that kind of play from him, that'll be very good.
How about the kid that they brought from the Ottawa Senators? He showed why the Islanders. Pajot. They didn't have to go. Everybody keeps talking about the Islanders didn't have a first or a second round draft pick. Yeah, oh well. He was one of the best players in the playoffs.
He was. He really was. I mean, a lot of the guys.
9 goals in the playoffs.
Yeah, jeez.
A lot of the guys stepped up for them this year in the playoffs. It's why you're wondering who's going to be back. He
is 5-year contract. He'll be up there. He'll be a second-line center next year. I guarantee it. Either him or Brock Nelson. I think they'll move Brock Nelson in the offseason.
Yeah, me too. I think Brock Nelson will be gone.
I do. I think his contract's affordable to some players, some teams, and he's a 27, 30-goal scorer. You can get a player for Brock Nelson in a trade.
Yeah, you can. Look, what about the fourth line? I heard that they're not coming back. I heard
Clutterbuck, they're going to try to move his contract. They're going to try to move his contract. And Cizikas is under contract for another 2 years. I could see them moving Cizikas. Martin could be brought back because he wants to stay. He wants to stay with the Islanders, but also I've been hearing the Rangers interested in him too.
That'd be an interesting twist. Years ago, that was a mistake. I mean, they got him back. He's perfect for what.
He's a fan favorite. The fans love him.
And him and look, the fourth line has been one of the.
It is the best fourth line in hockey.
It's been hyped up for a while now. Yeah,
it's been the best fourth line in hockey. The problem is that you're overpaying these guys. Clutterbuck is making way too much money on the fourth line.
I'm so mad they traded Niederreiter for Clutterbuck, even though Niederreiter didn't turn out to be as good as I thought he would be.
Well, that's the Islanders and that's Garth Snow. But
Garth Snow, yes.
I think. Hold on. Sign Corey Crawford as the backup for the Islanders. The Islanders don't need a backup.
No, Corey Crawford signed with the Devils already.
I think the Islanders are planning to trade Varlamov. I do think they're going to try to move Varlamov in the offseason. They've got their goaltender of the future.
They got him.
They've got him. And they've got him. He's going to play. Sorokin will be playing every single game practically next year. He's young. He's 24 years old. He's big. He's strong. He's flexible. If he stays healthy, he's going to be digit. I think they'll bring in a backup goaltender, a guy that's a qualified, a quality backup quarterback. That's what the backup goaltender. That's what I think they're going to do. So That's where I see the Islanders going. I think they plan Sorokin to play 70 games next year. So I don't think the Islanders are going to make a big move, and I think they're going to move Varlamov because of the contract. They're going to try to do everything they can to shed contracts so they can make a move for a Patrick Laney or somebody like that and then sign him to a long-term deal. I've been hearing they're trying to move Boychuk. Boychuk has 2 years left on his contract, and it's a movable contract because
they don't need him.
Yeah, they don't need him, and his contract's worth a team to take on. I mean, it's $6 million a year after 2 years or after a year, they can shed the contract and get $6 million on the cap. So I think it's an affordable.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It's a helpful contract for a lot of teams to go after Boychuk. So I think Boychuk will be gone. I think Leddy will be traded. I think they have a lot of good young defensive prospects.
Yeah.
So I think the Islanders are going to try to move those guys up and see what they have in their farm system.
And they got the new arena coming. They
need a big superstar. They need a superstar. They need a sniper. Patrick Laney is a guy that you can make a lot of Islander fans very, very happy with the new stadium opening up.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Either that or Mike Hoffman. I like Mike Hoffman too. I really like Mike Hoffman. If Mike Hoffman takes a 4-year deal with the Islanders, I would scoop him up. He would fit like a glove on Barzell's line. Like a glove. No, that guy could score 40 goals with Barzell. He's very fast. He's a lot faster than he looks. His skating ability, and he's a sniper. He's even a better sniper than Patrick Laney. I mean, the guy could put the puck in the net as good as anybody in the league. He'll score 40 goals on that Barzell line. And he'll make the line. He'll give the line a little bit more diversity too, on the wing side. So and he can pass.
Just as good of a passer.
Yeah. But the only problem is you're 30 years old and you don't want to give him a 7-year deal. If he takes a 4 or 5 year deal, if I was Lou Lamoriello, I would absolutely bring Mike Hoffman even over Patrick Laney, because I think he's a guy that's going to give you a lot of diversity on that line.
And he's played well.
How are things on Long Island? I miss home.
How things are in Long Island? Well, it was raining all day today. Speedy was farting up a storm. Very smelly. Very smelly, guys.
I'm telling you, you guys should really send out your best of before the show, like the things you guys say before the show. I had access to that at one point. It's really great.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Oh, come on, man. Man. You just can't make up the kind of stuff that Errol does. It's just.
I'm a little crazy. That's the problem.
A little.
What's funny is that you do it so like under your breath, and unless you really, you could. I'm like, what did he say?
Well, I do say a lot of outlandish things, so
you do. But it's all part of fun. Yep. I miss you guys.
Entertainment. I miss you too, man. I'm going to call you after the show. I want to talk to you about something.
All right, bub.
All right. Mark Kelly, ladies and gentlemen, we do this every single Monday. We call this segment Mark It Up. Mark is very knowledgeable. He gives you his good take, not only with what's going on in the NFL. He talked about the NCAA. We're going to be talking about college basketball, which is starting in a couple of weeks, too. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be something to talk about. March Madness in a couple of months, hopefully, if COVID-19 doesn't hold that back. But hopefully we have March Madness. We missed it this year. It would have been a great March Madness.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So hopefully we'll see it this year. But Mark, knowledgeable in his baseball, knowledgeable in everything that he talks. I mean, he's a fantastic analyst, a great writer. You guys got to check his star articles on our website, on our app. Great, everything that he talks about. He has great knowledge of what he's talking about. By the way, the Wise Guys will not be on this week. They'll be back next week in the studios of the Wise Guys Know Sports. So that's going to be interesting. Clarence and Mr. Trey, great show. Really, really great show. They called me today and they said they're not going to be doing a show this week. Shout out to Jordan and their team over there at the Wise Guys. But tomorrow we have a great lineup of shows tomorrow, right?
We have the BS Sports Show. I think that's the only one tomorrow.
The BS Sports Show. And we're going to be adding another couple of shows to our network very, very soon as well. So stay tuned for that, filling in the holes moving forward. That's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back on Wednesday at 10 p.m. This will be the last show at 10 p.m., and then we're moving it back to 6 p.m. on Wednesday. So And we're going to be adding another show to our network, which me and Ryan Hickey are going to be doing in the near future as well. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy that show. I think it'll be a lot of banter and a lot of craziness. So stay tuned for that. Anything to say before we go, Speedy?
Not really. You nailed everything. But yeah, Errol, you are crazy for sure. We'll say that.
Who isn't crazy? Everybody's crazy. My underwear's crazy. My underwear is crazy.
I don't need that much detail.
Well, you're not wearing any underwear today because you were dirty. You dirty your pants last night, right? You wet your bed?
No.
Yeah, Grandma told me you wet your bed.
Well, that's a lie.
So Grandma was lying to me? She
didn't talk to you.
She did talk to me. She told me you wet the bed last night. You had one of those bad wet dreams.
Oh my God.
Speedy having a wet dream. Who would absolutely want to see that? Speedy?
Ask your dream. I don't know.
Speedy and his wet dreams. Will the Chargers cover tonight, Speedy?
What is the spread right now? Last time I checked, it was minus 8.5. But what is it obviously keeps moving. I have the Chargers, I think, losing by 10, if I remember correctly. So if the spread went up to that, maybe. But
Chargers will have a chance to win this game in the fourth quarter.
I think so too. I think they're actually going to start kind of fast, and then they're going to crumble on it later.
Justin Herbert is going to have a sensational game. He is going to outplay Drew Brees in New Orleans.
Ooh. Wow.
Remember I said that. Justin Herbert, start him tonight against this defense. He's going to have a great game. He's going to put himself on the map on Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. Remember I said that.
First primetime game, and he gets a
And we will talk about that on Wednesday. Yep. I absolutely believe he is primetime ready. Get Speedy to dance. No, Wednesday. You tune in on Wednesday.
Wednesday, we got you.
Wednesday, you tune in on Wednesday. I'll pick the right song, and the clown and himself will be dancing for all you fans. So definitely stay tuned for Wednesday's show.
Midnight Mania.
The Midnight Mania. The Midnight Maniac. How's that sound? Anyways, that's it for our show.
That's not a dance song, but okay.
There you go. That's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back on Wednesday. Until then, this is Errol Marks and Speedy Petey saying good night, and we'll talk to you Wednesday. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.